4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the palatial yet not overly ostentatious studios of the Infinity Sports Network here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Monday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all of our great local Infinity Sports Network affiliates, Sirius XM, channel 375, the free Odyssey app, and of course, streaming live on YouTube. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476 is the number to jump on board with us. Dusty May, the head basketball coach at Michigan, is going to join us live on the show 20 minutes from now. And then at 5:20 p.m. Eastern, 2:20 p.m. Pacific, he's still in San Antonio. He's going to be doing the Spanish call of the game tonight, the national championship between Houston and Florida for Westwood One Sports. Gravis Vasquez, the former Maryland star, is going to join us. So a whole lot to do today. What was a massive sports weekend with the Final Four on Saturday, and I was in the building for that game between Auburn and Florida as Florida finds a way to get to the championship game tonight. And then I still can't believe what I saw transpire between Duke and also Houston as the Cougars with Kelvin Sampson are off to the Natty tonight. You also had Alexander Ovechkin, the grade 8, passing the grade 1, and then Geno Auriemma wins his 12th national championship. So a whole lot to unpack. We'll also squeeze in some NFL as well. But let's start with the games on Saturday night. So we're going to go in reverse order here. We'll go with the second game first, and then we'll sprinkle in a little post-reaction from Auburn and Florida. I have had the luxury of attending many big sporting events. I've had the luxury of being in the building for some of the most iconic moments in the history of sports. The most stunned I've ever been walking out of a building was when my team, the New England Patriots, were down 28-3 in the Super Bowl in Houston up against the Atlanta Falcons. They were down 28-3 in the third quarter. They came back. They won the game in overtime. James White with the touchdown. Brady got his 5th championship, and Bill Belichick got his 5th Super Bowl championship as a head coach. And I never thought I would see anything more remarkable than that in my lifetime. And that is just a comeback that you couldn't even write it up if you were the greatest film writer in the world, because when it's 28-3 in the third quarter, you thought the game was over. I thought the game was over. The Atlanta Falcons thought the game was over. The Patriots thought the game was over. Everyone thought the game was over. And to have a moment like that, you leave the stadium, and also it's my team, too, that comes back and is on the good side of it. It took days to process because even though it was real and it was spectacular, it didn't feel like it was real. Seeing Houston and Duke and the game, the way that game ended, I still don't know how it happened. I've had Sunday to digest it. I've had some of Monday to process it. And I still don't know how to articulate, and I know I'm a talk show host, how the Houston Cougars came back up against Duke. This is not me taking anything away from Houston. And I even saw our buddy Jesus in the chat. He's like, hey, give Houston credit. To call it a Duke choke is disrespectful. How else am I supposed to call it? How else am I supposed to refer to it? It's not taking away credit from Houston. We know what Kelvin Sampson has done. We know what his players have done. They have a great chance to win a national championship game tonight and to win it all. But you look at what Duke did and forget about the fact that they were up by 14 with 8 minutes to play. Here are the two numbers. 1:15 to play. Duke was up by 7. I was in the building. I had some Cougars fans sitting next to me. They're still cheering, but they thought that was it. They didn't think they were coming on back. And also, when you get that technical foul late against Houston when the kid reached in on the inbounds pass, no one's thinking Houston is coming on back. You have Duke, who for pound, entering the NCAA tournament, as long as Cooper Flagg was healthy, and he was, they were the best team in the tournament. And I get it. We had all 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four. But with 1:15 remaining, Duke is up by 7. 9.9 times out of 10, they close that out. Then, with 34 seconds remaining, it's a 6-point lead. So it's not as if, the final about a little less than 90 seconds were just dreadful. You had a little over 30 seconds left. Duke was up by 6. Once again, they win that game 9.9999999 times out of 10. And they blew it. There's no other way around it. And let's not have kitty gloves on when we talk about this. Because let's be real. Look at the way that we just destroyed John Calipari after blowing that game in the NCAA tournament this year, and that was in the Sweet 16. Now, you take a glance at Duke. They're in the Final freaking Four. You have a spot in the national championship game on the line. This is not, only criticize the players. The kid that missed the free throw. Cooper Flagg not being able to hit the big shot towards the end. I didn't love the officiating call, the over the back on Cooper Flagg, but I can't crush the officials. It was a bad call, but I'm not going to sit here when you're up by 6 with 34 seconds left, when you're up by 7 with 1:15 left, and bitch about the officiating and say the officials are why you lost. I'm not going to do that. But Jon Scheyer, it almost feels like he's not getting enough of the blame here. Right? People are just like, it's great to see Duke lose. Duke's still hateable post Coach K. Cooper Flagg, people were saying he's the greatest freshman of all time. He couldn't even win a national championship game. How about the coach and Jon Scheyer? And I like Jon. When I was in high school, I reached out to Jon on Facebook. He came on my radio show, all that stuff. I'm a fan of Jon Scheyer. And Jon Scheyer has done a nice job a few years in on the job. But the other 2 years, when you didn't get to a Final Four, the other 2 years when you didn't win a national championship game, and you have a team with this much talent, I said it going into the tournament. Yeah, if they get to the Final Four, it's nice. But this was national championship or bust for Jon Scheyer this year. And that team didn't just lose, right? If a team's just better than you and you lose, you tip your cap to them, and okay, it just wasn't our night. Right? You get blown out of a game, it happens, it's easier to process. Let's just say if Houston hit a shot at the buzzer in a game that was back and forth, wire to wire, and you lose 70-67, and they hit a miraculous three at the buzzer, all right, what can you do? But Duke throughout the game was the better team than Houston. And I kept on looking up at the scoreboard, and I said, feels like it should be a little bit bigger margin. And I know at one point it was up to 14 with 8 minutes to play. But the Cougars just kept on hanging around. But I can't even say that Duke never issued the knockout punch because they were up with a 7 with 1:15 left with a little over 30 seconds. They're up by 6. So they did enough, I thought, to win the game. And I know it's a big football stadium that you're in, so sometimes that's weird to watch a basketball game. You don't have the sound as well, like you have the luxury on TV. And I'm watching with my own 2 eyes. And I still can't believe what I saw. And then walking out of the stadium, it was one of the craziest scenes I've ever seen. Because every Duke fan that you walk by, and let me emphasize, I walked by them. Because they were sitting down, just sitting down. I went down towards the court after the game. There were just Duke fans in their seats. They weren't moving. And the Duke fans that found the courage to get up and walk out of the stadium, because eventually you got to leave, they just had a blank look on their face. And you all have been there as sports fans. Your team loses a game like that. Your team blows the game. You don't know what just hit you in the mouth. And you have no clue how to respond. Because there is a sense of shock that just goes through your entire body. And then you looked at the Houston fans, and they had a sense of shock as well. But it was a sense of elation. Like, you looked at them, you go, that person's happy, but they don't know why they're happy. And the reason why they don't know why they're happy is because they don't know how the heck they just won that game. And when you're at one of those big events like the Final Four, everyone has a cell phone. The cell service isn't great, even though they have the complimentary Wi-Fi in the building. And how many people I saw leave that building and then call loved ones and were like, I can't believe we just won that game. It was a really cool scene. So I'm not taking anything away from Houston. I'm not taking anything away from Kelvin Sampson. I'm not taking anything away from his players. And we know they are as one of the toughest teams in the country. And this game tonight, Houston and Florida, should be masterful. It should be spectacular. But the story of the weekend is Duke, not only with the choke job, but an all-time choke job. Once again, they're up 7 with 1:15 to play. They're up 6 with 34 seconds left, and they blew it. This is up there with 28-3. This is up there with the New York Yankees in the ALCS being up 3-0 in 2004 up against the Boston Red Sox. This is up there with the Golden State Warriors having a 3-1 lead up against the Cleveland Cavaliers in the NBA Finals and not getting the job done. Because John Shire, Cooper Flagg, all these players for Duke, Knipple, they had a chance to not only get to a championship game, but they were expected heading into the weekend to be the team that was there on Monday night and have one shining moment playing and being the last team on the podium. Duke was the pick going into this weekend out of the 4 teams. We did a segment on Thursday and Friday, Duke or the field. And Duke had it right there. It's not like they didn't play well in the game. It's not like they were horrible. Now, it wasn't their best game, but they still had control of the game. And I still don't know how they blew it. And you could sit there and tell me, oh, you still got youngsters, inexperience, all that stuff. Baloney nonsense. I don't want to hear it. They blew the game. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And that is an all-time just terrible choke job by the Duke Blue Devils. And quite frankly, I want to see how they're going to recover. Now, Duke has an incredible class coming in. John Shire is going to be back. But you know it and I know it. A loss like that hangs with the program. Even the elite programs. And we know that Duke's a blue blood. And Duke will win another national championship again. But until they do so, until John Shire gets a national championship as a coach, this is going to be the one that you remember. This is going to be the one that you say, look at this opportunity. Look, you basically had victory in your hands, and then you snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. That's what Duke did. And if I had to rank just real quickly, because I threw out those 4 choke jobs, 28-3, the Golden State Warriors blowing a 3-1 NBA Finals lead, the Yankees 2004, and then Duke. This is how I do it. 28-3. You know what? Yankees 3-0 ALCS. Because you had 4 times. You got to win 1 lousy game. What? You win 1. It doesn't matter even if you get to a game 7. Like you saw the Florida Panthers up 3-0 last year. They blow it to the Oilers. They won the game 7. You had 4 other opportunities to win a game. Yankees couldn't do it. And look what and then catapulted the Red Sox to end up becoming, winning 4 championships in that run. So I would say the greatest choke job in, since 2004, out of those 4 that we just mentioned, I would say it's the Yankees in 2004. Then I would say it's 28-3 with just how limited time it was in that third quarter. I would actually say it's Duke with what Duke just did the other night, up by 6 with 34 seconds left. And the only reason I put the Golden State Warriors 4th is because who they were going up against. Now, I get it. You have Steph Curry, right? Klay Thompson, Draymond Green. But the Golden State Warriors were going up against LeBron James, who some may say is the greatest basketball player of all time. I think he's the second greatest basketball player ever. And you also had Kyrie Irving just be absolutely sensational. So that's how I'd rank those 4 choke jobs. So congratulations to Houston. But the story to me out of the weekend was just what an epic failure by Duke, a game that they had won, and now they walked on home, and look at the disaster that was. Now, real quickly, let me just touch on Auburn and Florida. Walter Clayton Jr. is spectacular. I've said it for now weeks. He's the most entertaining, not the best player, but the most entertaining player in the NCAA tournament. He's lived up to that. I looked, though, at Auburn. That's why I wasn't so hot on Auburn going into this tournament. And I picked Florida to win the game by 4 or 5 on Friday. But when you rely on basketball on a big man to be your best player, it's very tough to win when the big man has to make those big plays down the stretch. And Auburn's offense, it was a tale of two halves. First half, sensational. Second half, I think they had, 1 field goal with 10 or 11, 12 minutes or whatever it was. They were terrible. Absolutely brutal. It was horrific watching Auburn play down the stretch in that game. They still had a chance. But Janai Broome, who was banged up, healthy enough to play, and I don't think it impacted him, but how many times they tried to make him do something late, and how susceptible big men are for injuries, how big men aren't the best finishers in the world when it comes to basketball, making a big shot, and he just couldn't do so. So tremendous career at Auburn, but one of those moments where you just had a feeling that Florida was the better team. We all know what Auburn is, and Auburn is sensational, and they had a wonderful season. But the way that Auburn was playing at the end of the year compared to Florida, Florida was the better team. So that leads us to tonight's national championship game between Florida and Houston. All righty, we'll take a break. We'll come on back with the head men's basketball coach at Michigan, also formerly of FAU, has been in a Final Four with them a few years back. Dusty May is going to join us when we return in 5 minutes. We are back from San Antonio. I'm in our New York City studios. Had an early morning flight, went right from the airport here to the studio to talk to you. Jump on board, 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Dusty May will join us next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, national championship game tonight between Houston and Florida. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll go on to the guest line right now. Welcome to a man that made the Final Four a few years ago with FAU. Just wrapped up year one with the Michigan Wolverines, won the Big Ten championship. Also had the Wolverines dancing all the way to the Sweet 16, and that is head coach Dusty May here with us. Coach, appreciate the time as always. How you been?
Oh, doing great, Zach. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. So how do you look back at it? Year one in Ann Arbor with Big Blue. How do you kind of look back at what you guys were able to accomplish?
Well, when you go into this situation, you move up a level like we did, you don't really know what to expect. You know, I was an assistant at Florida just a few years ago. I've been at this level before, but recruiting's different. Player management's different, staff management is different. So there's definitely a learning curve, but I feel like we really, really grew throughout the season, and we're extremely excited going into year two.
So I appreciate your honesty, because we've seen coaches, right, have success like you had at FAU and other spots. They get a bigger job, and then it just doesn't work out. I know it's only 1 year, but you had to tinker with some things. But overall, your general principles are your culture. Why do you think what you guys kind of did at FAU and that culture that you developed was still able to work at Michigan?
I think just the amount of time that our staff puts in with our players, the authenticity of our staff in general, I think really helps. And I think we're all these guys are looking for the same thing, a place where they can thrive individually, enjoy it collectively, and then they're improving and they're around great people. So I think that's the same at any level. Obviously, the financial piece has changed the game in the last few years, but I do think all these guys are looking for the same place, an opportunity to be their absolute best.
Yeah, and I know the roster changes more than ever because of that financial stuff that you were talking about. So whoever is on your team for year number 2 of the Dusty May era in Ann Arbor, what do you want to kind of challenge your players to do after a program? We saw you guys win the Big Ten this year and go to the Sweet 16.
Well, I think we can pass the ball even better than we did this year. We had another good assist year, and I think we played really good team basketball. But I think we can do it at an even higher level, play with much more rhythm offensively, much more pace offensively. And then defensively, we made great strides from last summer to the end of the year. By March, we were a really good defensive team. And then the last thing would be rebounding. When you watch these teams tonight, they're elite offensive and defensive rebounding teams. So I think that's the one commonality between all efficient offenses, whether you shoot a bunch of mid-ranges like these teams do, whatever the case, if you get your shots back, you have a chance to be elite offensively.
Dusty May here with us. Coach, I have no clue what's true or false with the portal. I have no clue what you could actually say, but I keep on reading about some of the players that you're able to snag and bring on in. I saw you had the number one player in the portal commit to you guys. Just how have you been able to find the way quickly at Michigan to have success with that portal?
Well, fortunately for us, and I can't speak on any recruits technically right now, and I'm not even sure who's signed and who hasn't, and who signed their collective agreements and whatnot. There are a lot of layers to this. I think at the end of the day, it's probably just a handshake agreement between any of us at any time. Now you could get out of anything that if you really, really wanted to. But I think we obviously. We were fun to watch. We had a unique deal with the 2 7-footers, and then we had some athleticism on the perimeter. But we developed a little bit of a niche where we've had good bigs and skilled bigs since I've been a head coach 7 years ago. So I think we continued on that. And then just the way we played, we had guys that played with great energy, unselfishness, and a great. They were a connected group. So I think. When you watched us play, you could see a lot of the things that these recruits are looking to do.
Now, you have a very, very player-friendly program. Just being around you and kind of seeing your teams play, you could tell your players really enjoy playing for you. The last few years, with how easy it is for players to leave, has that changed at all the way that you approach practice and the way that you coach? Just wondering.
Maybe a little bit subconsciously. We're very intentional about telling the truth every single day, about it, enjoying working with these guys and creating a real collaboration and partnership. That's probably the thing that we take the most pride in. Our staff, we collaborate really well together. And then we also allow our players to be a part of that with the decision-making processes with just about everything we do. But we're very committed to our processes. We're very committed to doing it together. And I think when you recruit high-achieving, intelligent people, they want to be a part of the process and respect the ultimate decisions as long as they were a part of the process.
Yeah, and I never fault the kid for going to the transfer portal if a kid's there and leaves whatever reason it is, but it's tough to develop those relationships now with all the other factors. And that's someone that, for me, is pro NIL and pro transfer portal. Someone like a Trey Donaldson who had a lot of success with your program this past year. When you get the news that he was leaving, just how do you kind of react to that?
Well, first of all, Trey did a lot for us, and he was a really good basketball player for us. So the same as we've done everyone when they've left. For whatever reason, it's wish them well, let them know we're going to be following them, watching their scores, watching their games, and we're here for them forever because they were in our locker room. He was our teammate. And so it's on to the next thing. And with turnover is difficult because I enjoy the process of getting to know these guys and being a part of their lives. But you know what, when guys leave, new guys come in and you have a chance to be a part of their lives as well and meet new people. And so it's just, I think it's all how we decide to look at it. But, I'm excited about the guys we have coming back. We're excited about the guys that we're adding. And once again, the biggest challenge is trying to figure out a way to take all these really talented individuals and make them a team or a unit.
Was it surprising for you, Coach May, that in year one you were able to win the Big Ten and that you were also able to get to the Sweet 16?
The last summer we felt like we had a chance to be good. And when you watch your team play, obviously there's always some strengths and weaknesses, but there were several times I asked the staff, I'd say, you know what, we've got a chance to be pretty good, don't we? And with that, it's if you can compete for a Big Ten championship, and we were in contention until the last week of the season for regular season championship. And that usually puts you in position to win some NCAA tournament games and in position to advance. So we were confident. We had size. We had good, solid depth. We had some veteran guys, but you just never know how guys are going to respond to each other over a 5-month season. It's difficult. These guys, especially with the travel and the amount of stress and anxiety that comes with all these new things that are a part of our game now. But, the one thing about our staff, the temperature never changes. We're pretty consistent with our approach every day. So I think our players know that it's a safe place to learn, and we're all about getting better.
I know you as a coach, right, especially when you got to a Final Four at FAU, you take a job like Michigan, you want to get to a Final Four, you want to win a national championship. Now, I wasn't expecting those things to happen for your program this year, so I would imagine with how you guys ended the season, you walk away saying year one was a success at Michigan, correct?
Yeah, we obviously laid a really strong foundation with everything that we do. We're going to continue to improve. As we get through this portal period, we'll sit down as a staff and do another autopsy on our season and figure out what we're going to keep and what we're going to get rid of. But yeah, without a doubt, I think that just representing Michigan, it has so much to sell on its own without us. And then you add in the quality staff and players we have in our program, and we're committed to doing it together. I think we have a lot to sell, and ultimately that's what you want out of year one is momentum moving forward.
You had so many special players at FAU. To get to a Final Four at FAU, it requires not only good coaching, but good players as well. As Dusty May is here with us, a lot of those players still playing in college basketball. One of them tonight in the national championship game, and Elijah Martin, who had an unbelievable slam dunk the other night as Florida was pulling away up against Auburn. Just when did you know that you had something special in Elijah back when you guys were with the Owls at FAU?
I'll tell a quick story about Elijah. He didn't play a lot as a freshman in college. He just had some habits that didn't really align with our opinion of winning. And literally, I tell the story a lot in recruiting. It was the end that we lose, I think, in the first or the second round of the conference tournament, that time Conference USA, and we're leaving the next morning on a commercial flight. I'm walking down the stairs, and I think he got a DNP the night before, and I see his entire family. His mom is his sister, his grandma, everyone at the bottom of the steps. And I'm thinking, oh man, they do not want to see me right now. This might, who knows what's going to happen. And I was exhausted, whatever. And they gave me a big hug and said they were so excited for next year. We're going to have a great off season. And the team got so much better. So at that moment I said, you know what? Elijah's got a real chance because his circle was aligned with development and getting better. And then it's probably the first time in my career where his freshman year, he didn't play. And on the road 2 or 3 weeks later, after a week or two of individual workouts and team workouts, I was telling people on the road that he was our best player. So he went from a guy that never played to 3 weeks later being who I thought was our best all-around player. And it was a simple mindset shift. And his mind is probably his greatest strength, as athletic as he is. He's just an elite competitor. His drive to win, his drive to improve is impressive. So those were the things that really told me he was going to be having this type of success.
And that's a unique situation because how many times is a kid not playing? The family says, oh, the coach doesn't know what he's talking about. The player's thinking it as well, but he kept on believing in you. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and obviously we had our ups and downs and whatnot, but and there were several times his freshman year when I would say, I don't know if Elijah's going to make it. It doesn't seem like he's really bought into what we're selling, and I'm pretty stubborn with freshmen, and so yeah, credit to him. I mean, he evolved, he changed, and obviously we met him in the middle, but it was 99% of what he turned into, and that was someone that impacted the game of basketball every single possession on both sides of the ball, but especially with his competitive spirit.
There was some unknown, right? When you leave FAU to go to Michigan, there was some unknown when he left FAU to go to Florida. But to see how he's dominating in the SEC that sent 14 teams to the NCAA tournament, I'm assuming now none of that comes as a surprise to what you're seeing from Elijah?
No, not at all. And obviously, I was an assistant at Florida a few years ago. My oldest son, Jack, was a walk-on for 4 years at Florida. So I follow the program closely. I have I'm friends with their entire staff, whatnot. So I follow those guys closely. And it's been fun to watch. Our staff here has close connections. We said the first couple weeks of the season, they have a Final Four roster at Florida. They've done a really nice job of team building. And, those guys have continued to improve. They've held it together. And, man, they've got a lot of weapons. I expect them to play well tonight.
Yeah, and Walter Clayton Jr., he's been the most entertaining player in this NCAA tournament. Coach, if you were going up against him, how the heck do you try to slow this kid down right now?
I haven't watched him that close. I'm a big fan of Walt's. He actually visited us during COVID. We'd only seen him on tape, and we talk about all the hits we have in recruiting. Well, that was one that's probably one of our biggest misses. Just not be able to go off of him on tape, and I don't know who we took at the time, but yeah, I've known Walt for a long time. A great family, just a great guy, and so I've watched him more as a fan as opposed to somebody trying to stop him.
Now, I was at the game on Saturday between Duke and Houston. I was there for both Final Four games, Dusty May. And I still can't believe what happened at the ending of that game with Duke and Houston, right? You've been on crazy comebacks. You've also games that you've had go the other way when you thought you had something won, but a 6-point lead with 34 seconds to go. Man, that was wild what Kelvin Sampson and company were able to do up against Duke.
Yeah, they like our guys this year. The last couple minutes, you can just see the level of confidence and intensity elevate, and they're relentless. I mean, they're absolutely relentless, and obviously a lot had to go wrong for Duke to lose that game as well as they played. But I think the biggest stretch was probably that run right before half where Houston found a little bit of offensive confidence because people don't realize how good of a defensive team Duke is. I mean, that might be the two best defensive groups in the country in Duke and Houston, and obviously it came down to the very last few seconds. And man, what a game to watch though. That was inspiring to see that, and it also it gives us, I guess, a vision of what we need to be working on these next couple weeks and next few months in the off season.
I know what you just said about Florida and how close you are with the staff, but on the other side, you got Kelvin Sampson, who's been around forever. And what he's been able to do at Houston is just so remarkable. American Athletic Conference and now dominating the Big 12 and the rest of college basketball. If he was able to get a championship tonight in Kelvin Sampson, just what would that mean, someone that studies so many of these coaches around the nation?
Well, it simply means that a good guy won. I mean, he's an unbelievable human being. You can see how dedicated he is to his family, how loyal he is to his staff and his players. It's a great story. obviously the connections to Florida and Elijah, I want those guys to win. But man, if Houston found a way to win and Kelvin Sampson got to cut down that net tonight, I think all of us guys that consider ourselves just very simple ball coaches would be really, really happy for him.
He is Coach Dusty May, former Florida assistant. We know what he did with FAU in the NCAA tournament, and now at Michigan, first-year Big Ten champion. Also did take the Michigan Wolverines to the Sweet 16. Hey, by the way, for you, do you feel pressure? Because, everyone knows you from what you did at FAU. But if that's the only thing people talk about 20 years from now, it means you didn't accomplish what people then thought you could be able to accomplish. You feel pressure taking that Michigan job to just make sure that the highlight of your career isn't the remarkable thing that happened at FAU?
No, my pressure comes from I'm a pleaser at heart. It's making the people that made a decision to hire me, making sure that I do a good job for them and everyone that believed in us. But as far as my own internal pressure, it's not like I feel pressure to make a Final Four. I believe we're going to. I believe we're going to play for national championships. So the pressure is more just in the week of preparation, trying to beat a single team and making sure that you never lose a game because of something that you weren't prepared for. Those are my internal pressures. But I have so much, loyalty to those that decide. I mean, I remember our first year at FAU, we lost a couple games. I called Mike White and said, man, I feel so bad for Brian. We've lost 2 or 3 in a row. He made the decision to hire me. And he said, man, Brian's going to be fine. You just coach your team. So that was good advice. But yeah, there's not the pressure to make this because I am really process oriented. I enjoy the work. I think we have to prepare for this every single day and trust that it's going to happen.
Just bring a bunch of Zingermans. Just bring a bunch of no time. You'll please everyone at Ann Arbor. You'll have no problem there, Coach.
I'm only there about 3 or 4 days a week, Zach.
Well, Coach, we appreciate the time. Thanks so much for jumping on board. Great to catch up with you.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
There he is, Coach Dusty May here with us at the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network, the head man at Michigan. What a wonderful season they did have with their program this past year, and we're excited to see what year number 2 has in store for the Wolverines. All righty, we'll take a timeout. We come on back. Alexander Ovechkin, the Great 8, passed the Great 1 yesterday. What are some of the most impressive records that may never be broken in sports? And also, what's one memory that you have as a sports fan that you remember a moment in history where you saw a crazy record be broken? We'll get to all that on the other side. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Standing by with the latest sports flash. Here's the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Your small business keeps you on the go. Progressive Commercial Insurance keeps your policy within reach with their easy-to-use mobile app. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. The NCAA Championship takes place tonight in San Antonio. 2 conference champs who went on to become top seeds will now meet for the title in Florida and Houston. The Gators are looking for the school's first championship since they went back-to-back in 2006 and 2007. They have rallied in each of their last 2 games to get to this point. Head coach Todd Golden hoping his team doesn't have to do it again against one of the best defensive teams in the nation.
Their defense worries me a lot. Absolutely. And, you look at a guy like Tugler, Roberts, they have incredible length and athleticism and physicality inside the paint. They wear you down. They make it really, really hard on you. And so, it definitely concerns me.
The Cougars held Duke to just 1 field goal over the final 10.5 minutes, and their 67 points were a season low as they rallied from 14 points down to advance. Baseball this afternoon in chilly Detroit. The Yankees and Tigers are underway and scoreless in the 3rd. I'm Rich Ackman.
This is the Infinity Sports Network. Follow us on X. Our handle is INF Sports Network. That's INF Sports Network on X.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
And it's time to ask the pros. You, the listener, gets to ask us a question brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at INF SportsCenter at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Be listening later in the show. We might answer your question. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Alexander Ovechkin did it yesterday. Now has the most goals in NHL history. We'll have more on just that in just a second. But based off of that, give me a record that you remember being broken that still sits with you to this day. And also, we'll go around the room and we will discuss, maybe the most impressive sports record that is still out there. So we'll do some of that coming up in just a second. But let me take one call on this topic first. 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476. Tom is in Myrtle Beach, and he has a memorable record. Tom, what's happening?
I was lucky enough to be in Camden Yards on September 6, 1995, when Cal Ripken broke Lou Gehrig's record game 2-1-3-1. And not only do I not think that record will be broken, at least in my lifetime, Cal actually played 500 more games in a row after that game. So the record is 2,632. But to be in that stadium that night, it's hard to experience. And he had a home run that night on a 3-0 pitch in the sixth inning, maybe the fifth inning. But to see that, I'm sure people have seen the videos, see the banner come down. He was one of us. I'm from Baltimore. We're about the same age. He's a little bit younger. He's from Baltimore, lifelong. I mean, it was part of who we were, being from Baltimore. I don't think the city's ever been more proud of their life of an individual, maybe except when we wrote the Star Spangled Banner. But he played 500 more games in a row after that, which at that time was the longest active streak in the league.
And Tom, you know what the crazy part is? Obviously, a record like that, when he did in the moment, you knew how special it was. But just looking how sports are today with load management in the NBA, how many off days they give in baseball as well. Like, we've seen some records that we thought were really special in the moment get broken, and then through time, they get broken again, and they don't age the same way as the authenticity of it happened in the moment. That's one that was so impressive in the moment, and it's got even better and better through the years.
And, he faced criticism. There was some about, you're not putting the team first, you need a day off. I remember there was some out of the New York Yankee media saying, you'll be disrespectful to Lou Gehrig, you should sit a game out so his legacy lives on and stuff like that. But, I really just think he just felt that's what you do when you're a ball player. If the manager puts you in the lineup. I was actually at a game Wednesday night in Baltimore, and he was there, and he's sitting not too far from me. Every eye is still on him in Baltimore whenever he's around. And I promise you, number 8 Cal Ripken jerseys, which myself was wearing, they are more prevalent 30 years later than any other player. And it's not just the record. I think the civic pride he created for those of us from Baltimore will be eternal, as long as we live. So that's my contribution to your question.
Tom, it's a great one, and it's definitely one that I thought of because we pulled some audio clips from some great records being broken, and we have that audio clip for you right now.
What began on May 30th, 1982, and continues September 6th, 1995. This game, with the Angels trailing, is now in the books. And let it be said that number 8, Cal Ripken Jr., has reached the unreachable star.
So there you go. All right, let's do this. Here is the memorable record for me. Barry Bonds passing Hank Aaron, and this is how it sounded.
Deals. And Bonds hits one high. Hits it deep. It is out of here. 7:56. Bonds stands alone. He is on top of the all-time home run list. What a special moment for Barry Bonds.
And I'll never forget that because I was at sleepaway camp. And you don't really have access to a TV at sleepaway camp. But thankfully, looking back at it, I was sick. So I had to stay in the infirmary at the sleepaway camp, and they had a TV in the infirmary. So I was able to watch that with Barry Bonds hitting his 756 home run to be the home run king. Stu, what's a memorable record that you had that you remember being broken?
This is going to be a shocker.
So mine was from only a couple years ago. I'll play the audio.
Coming to the end of the third quarter. LeBron James, a shot at history.
Really?
LeBron stands alone. The NBA's all-time scoring record now belongs to LeBron James.
I know you're a Laker honk. That one I really didn't think, even though it's incredible, right? LeBron, most points ever in the history of the NBA. I didn't think that's where you were going to go.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's the first one that came to my mind. I've had other ones I thought of, but that was the first one that jumped out to me.
Did you take great pride in that in the moment? Because you've been up and down on LeBron.
I thought it was very impressive. I just think the longevity that he's had, people didn't think he'd have. Yeah, it's absurd.
All right, Samter, what's your record that you remember being broken?
I initially was going to go with Cal Ripken, but because Tom took it away, there was another one. Growing up, because my last name is Samter, my nickname was Sammy.
Okay.
So I became a big Sammy Sosa fan. So the summer of '98 was so incredible. The two of those guys going after that, and obviously we know that steroids was involved with both of them, and obviously with Barry Bonds too, but that moment...
That was my era. Don't tell me it didn't happen, all right?
Before we knew what was really happening, we were just enjoying the moment, and the fact that Mark McGwire had a chance to break Maris's record with Sammy Sosa in right field.
Yeah.
Cardinals, Cubs, two of the biggest rivals in all of baseball. The two of those guys going head to head, and the fact that Mark McGwire did this in this moment, to me, was the most unforgettable moment in baseball history.
Down the left field line, is it enough? Gone! There it is! 62! Touch first, Mark. You are the new single-season home run king.
And also, it was like a line drive, just got out, and he was so excited that he... the first time around, missed first base and had to go back and touch it, as you heard from Joe Buck.
And the fact that Joe Buck was able to, in the moment, he probably has that call ready to go. The fact that he can alter what he's saying to make sure that he calls that Mark McGwire has to touch first base, I thought was brilliant in the call. The moment was incredible. Afterwards, him and Sosa doing their patented, punching each other in the stomach celebration. It was just, the odds of that happening with those two guys battling it out and being against each other in that game, it was just amazing.
And we're up against it, so we'll play you more coming up later from Alexander Ovechkin breaking Wayne Gretzky's record, which for years no one ever thought that would be broken, and deservedly so. It was 894 goals. He gets 895 the other day. For me, the most impressive record right now in sports, I would say it's the total points that Wayne Gretzky has. Because you could take away all 894 career goals that Wayne Gretzky had, and he would still have the most points in the history of the NHL with 1,963. Stu, what's your most impressive sports record?
Mine is Cy Young's 511 wins. Justin Verlander, who is one of the best pitchers of our generation, has 262, which is just over half, and he's basically done. No one's ever coming close to 511.
We may never even see a 300-game winner.
Yeah, let alone
again.
511.
Yeah, so let's stop with the 511. Not even 300. Samter, what's your record?
I was going to go with Nolan Ryan's 5,714.
What figure skating are we getting from Samter?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to go with Nolan Ryan's 5,714 strikeout to 1,000 more than second place Randy Johnson, or his 7 no-hitters. More than Koufax at number 2 with 4. But I'm going to go Jerry Rice, actually. The triple crown in receptions, receiving yards, and touchdowns. He has over 5,000 more yards more than second place Larry Fitzgerald. He has over 41 touchdowns more than second place. He has the record in receptions also. Every one of those records is unbeatable. And the fact that he has all 3 of them, and by as much as he does, it's incredible.
All righty, this is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. We'll talk more about that Ovi moment on the other side. We'll play you some of the audio on Long Island yesterday, as you did see Alexander Ovechkin move past the Great One, as the Great 8 now sits alone in the number 1 spot for the most goals in the history of the NHL. Also, we saw Geno Auriemma win his 12th national championship yesterday as well. Which coach would you take in basketball? Which coach would you take in football if you had to win one game to win it all? 888-710-4ISN, 888-710-4476.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Infinity and beyond.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, away we go. Hour number 2 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Gravis Vasquez is going to join us coming up an hour 20 from now. He's still in San Antonio. He'll be doing the Spanish call of the national championship game tonight between Houston and Florida via Westwood One Sports. Let's do this right now. So we'll have a little carryover from the last hour. We were talking about the most impressive record in sports. Stu said Cy Young's 511 victories. Samter has Jerry Rice's career triple crown with the most receptions, the most receiving yards, and the most receiving touchdowns. And for me, I have a Wayne Gretzky-related nugget, and that is Wayne Gretzky most career points in the NHL. Yes, Ovechkin moves past him with 895 goals. The great one had 894. If you take away all those 894 goals, Wayne Gretzky still has 1,963 career points, which would still give him the most points in the history of the NHL. Luckily for Wayne, you don't need to take away all those goals. He has 2,857 points. Jaromir Jagr, who's a legend, right? He has 1,921 points. That's the second most points ever. Jaromir Jagr, who played forever, he has 1,921 points. Wayne Gretzky has 2,857 points. The wild part, too, with Ovechkin and Gretzky, both played 1,487 games. Now, Ovechkin still has more to play, but Wayne Gretzky in 1,487 games had 894 goals, and Ovechkin in 1,487 games got his 895th goal yesterday. And Ovechkin could have broke it the game prior, which would have been a neat moment having a hat trick because he got 2 in the last time out before the Islanders game the other day, which you saw history on Long Island. But he didn't want to go out there on the ice with an empty net. He thought it'd be disrespectful to break the record that way, which I would have no problem with. I think it would have a hat trick to move past the great one and have Wayne Gretzky's record of most goals of all time, and you move past him and you go from 894 to 895 and an empty net. That wouldn't bother me, but that's the way that Wayne Gretzky, or that's the way Alexander Ovechkin did go about it. Let's hear some audio from yesterday. This was Kenny Albert, TNT. This was the play-by-play when Alexander Ovechkin, from his spot, found the way to get the job done and get goal 895 on the power play.
Into his own zone there. But no, look, he's just trying to find a seam and know that, hey, I'm going to try to force it to him if he's open.
Here is Ovechkin. Shoots! He scores! He scores! Number 895!
And then let's hear it on the Capitals radio network. John Walton, this was the play-by-play of that moment.
Dylan Strome, he and Chikrin will team up and glide through center. Right side to Wilson, centered up. Ovechkin has it, he scores! He scores! Alex Ovechkin scores 895! There's a new goal-scoring champion, and his name is Alexander Ovechkin! He has done it here on Long Island! His teammates mob him! There is but one! Alexander the Great, the greatest to ever do it in National Hockey League history!
Can I ask a question? After the game, so Ilya Sorokin, the goalie, he was talking it up with Alexander Ovechkin, and some people had a problem with that. I don't understand. Now, Ovechkin asked for his stick, and Sorokin gave it to him. I don't know about you, Stu. I've been seeing for some people that are like, oh, if that was me, I would not be so happy about being on the wrong side of history. It's Alexander Ovechkin. You allowed a goal to him. He has 894 others before that one yesterday, and the goal came from the iconic spot that Alexander Ovechkin, we have called his office, and he's just scored goal after goal after goal after goal, especially on the power play. You know, I see some saying like Ilya Sorokin, I saw this on Twitter. You know, I wouldn't be so happy and be standing there for photos with Alexander Ovechkin. So what? No one's going to hold this against Ilya Sorokin now moving forward, still. Stupid.
No, that is silly. I can't get on him for that. And like you said, the guy scored 900 goals. Like that, he just gave up one of them. No, I can't get on him for that.
And I want to see Ovechkin get 900 because that would be pretty cool. That's the next big domino to fall. Now, A-Rod, he had 696, I think, career home runs.
Yeah, he's 4 away from 700.
And I know that was a weird situation at the end with the Yankees and how that all came about. There was a rumor that maybe A-Rod was going to go to the Marlins or something like that for a little bit, maybe because Jeter was there. I think Jeter was there at the time running the show. I know if I'm A-Rod, I should have asked that when he joined us. I haven't thought about it till now. Like, do you regret not getting 4 more home runs just so you could get to 700? Because only 3 other people in the history of Major League Baseball have over 700 home runs. So it's like, don't you regret that just no, Pujols did Pujols get over 700? I think he did, right?
I think Pujols did, yeah.
Yeah, so you have 4. You got Pujols, you got Hank Aaron, you got Babe Ruth, obviously not in that order, and then Barry Bonds. So you got 4. You know, it's such a coveted list. That's got to be tough to walk away. But you wonder, and we'll see how many goals Ovechkin gets the rest of the way, is this his last season with the Capitals? That I don't know. It's wild what the Capitals have done. Because I saw the Capitals last year, right? They got into the postseason just by the skin of their teeth, got into the postseason. The Rangers weren't even great in the first round. They still swept their ass. And now they have the most points in the Eastern Conference, and they've been just a wagon, an absolute wagon this year. And Ovechkin, he drinks a ton of beer. He eats a ton of junk food. How he looked at the end of last season, I go, imagine if this guy, look how many goals he has. Imagine if he actually got in shape. And he got hurt this year too. So he had to miss a little bit of time. He would have broke this record even earlier. He is one of the more interesting bodies in the history of sports, Alexander Ovechkin. Because it's like he treats his body like crap. And he's still one of the more electrifying players we've ever seen, and one of the elite NHL players that the game has ever seen, clearly breaking this record the other day that many thought would never be broken. So there was some audio from John Walton and also Kenny Albert. Let's hear from Wayne Gretzky. The great one was on the scene on Long Island yesterday on Alexander Ovechkin breaking his record.
I can tell you firsthand, I know how hard it is to get to 894. 895 is pretty special. They say records are made to be broken, but I'm not sure who's going to get more goals than that.
Yeah, I don't know if that one's ever going to be broken again. Like, look how much it took for us to see him get to 895 after years and years and years. No one ever thinking in decades, no one ever thinking that 894 would be broken. Here's a hot take. I don't think you're going to see a player. You'll see great players. But a player have the longevity and the success and the consistency again in the NHL like Alexander Ovechkin, just with goal scoring to get to 895 goals and counting. That's what you also got to say, and counting on that record. And we'll see how much longer Ovi does play. Also yesterday, UConn just smoked the Gamecocks of South Carolina in the national championship game. And Paige Buckets, who was the thing in women's college basketball before Caitlin Clark. And I know that Paige Beckers, right, had that injury and, right, that kind of put her on the back burner for a bit. And then you had the explosion on the scene with Caitlin Clark and those rivalries up against Angel Reese. And you saw the continuation of what Caitlin Clark was able to do and what she was able to do for women's basketball where, I know that, right, there's been a ton of successful women basketball players. I love Diana Taurasi. You got Breanna Stewart. Like, there's so many great, Sabrina, there's so many great women's college basketball players through the history, right, of women's basketball, college and the pros. But no one has drawn you in like the way that Caitlin Clark was able to draw you in. But Paige Beckers was kind of on that trajectory before the injury. So to see her get a national championship, to see Geno Auriemma win another national championship, that was a special moment yesterday in the sports world. Now, right, I'll see what the ratings are. I know the first round of the women's tournament, I think they averaged like 400,000 viewers, and the men's averaged 9 million. Gallo here was trying to tell me that the women's tournament is now more popular than the men's tournament. And I have nothing against the women's tournament. I was more interested when Caitlin Clark was there. I loved watching Juju Watkins play, but then she got unfortunately injured with USC, and she was expected to maybe win the entire thing. But you have Dawn Staley, right? Everyone knows Dawn Staley going up against Geno Auriemma. Everyone knows Geno Auriemma. And then you got the star presence of Paige Beckers, Paige Buckets, and boom, Geno Auriemma gets his 12th national championship yesterday. So congratulations to him. And also the women's basketball team with the UConn Huskies. Now, it got me thinking. It doesn't matter man or woman. And you know what? I'll make a prediction here too. And this is going to have to do with my basketball coach to win it all. We know that Greg Popovich suffered a stroke. And I was in San Antonio, obviously, this past week for the Final Four. And I went to a Spurs game actually on Friday night, which was a crazy game. That game was over with a few minutes to go, like every basketball game. but double digits with a few minutes to go, and the Spurs lost by 1 point without Wembanyama, right? De'Aaron Fox out for the year. Greg Popovich hasn't been coaching the team clearly as he's recovering from a stroke. Castle is unbelievable. That team, San Antonio, as long as Wemby's able to survive the blood clots, right, which is a major concern. You got De'Aaron Fox right now coming off an injury. You also look at Castle with what he's been able to do. And now you're going to be getting another first-round pick, too. And I think it's better that they keep on losing these games so they can up and up and up their lottery chances. That's a team, once again, San Antonio, which I know it's weird to say they're on the rise because we know what they did for so many years with Duncan and Ginobili and also Tony Parker and even a little bit with Kawhi as well. That's just a team that we'll see who ends up being their next head coach because I just get a feeling that Pop is not going to come back and coach. I would be very surprised if he does. You know, is there a way, maybe one last game, something like that? But I don't think he's going to be the full-time coach of the San Antonio Spurs. And I'll tell you, when I was in San Antonio, a lot of fans were speculating Becky Hammon, right? And we know her ties to Popovich and also the Spurs organization. So maybe we end up having the first ever women's coach in the NBA. And maybe Becky Hammon next year takes over for Greg Popovich if Pop's not able to return to the NBA sideline, which I would be surprised if he's ever the full-time coach of the San Antonio Spurs once again. But the topic that we'll do here, we'll do for football and basketball. It doesn't matter if it's a college coach. It doesn't matter if it's a pro coach. It doesn't matter if it's a male. It doesn't matter if it's a female. One NFL, college football, college basketball, NBA, WNBA coach, you have to win one game to win a championship, just one. Who are you taking? Let's start in football. So this could be college, this could be NFL, it doesn't matter. I think this won't surprise anybody, just like Stu taking his memorable record, being LeBron James, moving past Kareem for the most points in the history of the NBA. No one was shocked when, well, besides me, that Stu actually said it because it just wasn't on my radar. I thought Stu was going to be a little bit more creative than just going back like a little while ago. I thought he was going to go back like at least some more years.
I'm only 33 years old, too.
Yeah, that's true. Second oldest person on the show. No, that's not true. Ack is the oldest.
That's true, yeah.
Then Samter, then you, then me. Let's just that's an order I am more than fine with giving on out. But let's start with football here. This won't shock anyone. I need one coach to win one game. The preparation, the attention to details, I'm going Mr. Mumbles in Bill Belichick. And how many great defensive performances when he was the Giants defensive coordinator. We saw what he was able to do as the Patriots head coach. I'm taking Bill Belichick if I needed one game to win in football. Whether that's college, NFL, doesn't matter. You say, put the football down, play it anywhere, whatever level. I need one coach to win one game in football. I'm going Bill Belichick. Stu, who's your football coach?
I'm going Marcus Freeman. No. I'm going with...
That was a good job.
I'm going with Nick Saban.
At first, I was like, what? And then I'm like, oh, a little sarcasm there by Stu. Hey, next, Charlie Weiss is what you're going to tell me?
Oh, yeah, that'd be a great one, right? I'll go Nick Saban, 7 national titles. Obviously, we know what he did at Alabama. Did it at LSU before that, before going to the NFL and coming back. I just think there's nothing more terrifying of going up against him in a national title game. And as a Notre Dame fan, I got, the bad end of that for one of those games.
For some reason, when you said that, I just heard Christopher Mad Dog Russo saying, what about Paul Bear Bryant? What about him? Not Paul Blart Mall Cop or whatever. Paul Bear Bryant, coach, what about him? That's what for whatever you said that, just going into the history of it. But I would say that Nick Saban's the greatest college football coach of all time. That was the mall cop, right, with Kevin James in the movie?
Paul Blart.
Yeah, Paul Blart, the mall cop. I could just see, obviously Dog knows who Paul Bear Bryant is, but I could just see him when you were calling a name in the moment, him going, Paul Blart, mall cop, Bear Bryant. All righty, Samter, who is your NFL coach or college coach to win one game?
Well, if you're going to go with the second greatest NFL coach of all time, I'll go with the greatest.
I didn't stutter. I went with the greatest coach of all time in Bill Belichick.
Yeah, number 2. I'm going to go with number 1, Mr. Vince Lombardi.
Yeah.
5 NFL championships, 2 Super Bowl championships, 2-time coach of the year, won the first 2 Super Bowls. Vince Lombardi, absolutely 9-1 all time in the postseason. Only lost 1 time ever. Never lost a championship game. Belichick, how many times did he lose in those Super Bowls?
Yeah, he's he's lost twice or 3 times in a Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. So if you're talking about one game to win it all, he's lost 3 of those. Vince Lombardi hasn't. So
See, that's where it's always a dumb argument because if you get there more, you actually get penalized for going further. You know?
Well, Lombardi went there 7 times and never lost one.
I'm just saying, Belichick, this idea, I'm not going to sit here and argue this. If you want to say Lombardi, that's fine. I don't think Samter is dusting off the tapes here and looking back at the black and white film and having all these Lombardi moments. Vince Lombardi is, to me, the second greatest coach of all time in the NFL. You think he's the first? That's fine. If Belichick stayed with the Jets and he won all those championships, you would say that it's Bill Belichick. You just have that axe to grind, that insecurity of Bill Belichick where he just haunts you still in your dreams.
And let's also
remember,
he's
the boogeyman to you.
Bill Belichick's all-time career win percentage, 647. Mm-hmm. Vince Lombardi's 750.
Okay.
So
who has
it's
more
not
wins?
Even close. Lombardi has 7.
No. Who has more wins? All-time wins.
Oh, wins?
I know the answer to this.
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking it.
Sure. Because Belichick coached for 29 years.
Yeah.
Lombardi, I think, has like 100-something wins. He coached for like 10 years.
We don't have to sit here. Not everything has to be an argument. That's fine. But this
is sports radio. Everything has to be an argument.
I ask a question. Like you ask me a question, I give you an answer. I ask you a question. I just respect an answer, not just, and it doesn't go with my argument. It doesn't go with my narrative, so I'm just going to refuse to answer the question. I just wanted to hear what the answer to the question was. That was it. I was curious mind there. Wanted to see if you knew the answer. All righty, let's go to basketball. One coach to win it all. Now, I'm going to do a Samter here. We're going to list like 4,000 options just to then get to my answer here. I'm teasing with you, Mike.
No, I always do that. You're right. I can never make a decision.
We go to Samter.
I got 19 guys here.
Yeah, I got a list here. It's about 15 deep, and I'm like, all right, which one are you going to? You probably multiple choice as a kid. It probably took you the longest to hand in the paper.
I would always circle D, all of the above, even if there wasn't an option.
I was thinking about, right, you could think college basketball. I went more NBA first, where you could easily go college, but my mind went NBA first. I thought about Red Auerbach. I thought about Phil Jackson. I thought about Pat Riley, but I ended up going with the guy that I just mentioned a little while ago, in Greg Popovich. In San Antonio, what he built and to see what he was able to do as he is the face of that organization and those teams. And also, I understand he had the Admiral and David Robinson, right, for one of those championships. I understand he had Tim Duncan, who is a top 10, top 15 player of all time. But the other supporting cast, another Hall of Famers, but is anyone looking at Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili and saying they're all-time greats? Like, they're Hall of Famers, they're great, they're sensational, but they're not in the same category. Like, you look at Kobe, who won championships with Shaq. I know they won, independently of one another and on their own. But you see, like, that's like an iconic 1-2 punch duo. Even when LeBron was in Miami, you have Dwayne Wade. Like, there's just certain moments where you see who the running mates are, and you're like, okay, all-time great, all-time great. I'm not taking anything away from Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, but if you're saying there's going to be a dynasty where you win multiple championships, I wouldn't have anticipated that Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, and at times then Kawhi Leonard, would be the second best player there outside of that championship, the first one at the end, where you had Tim Duncan and then also David Robinson as well. So I look at that and those two championships, 99 and right. Robinson was 99 and 2003. I think that last one was in 2003. So you win. David Robinson wins 2, but you look at 5 championships for the Spurs: 99, 03, 05, 07, and 14. Pop doing that. That I need one game with any team to win, and how many different iterations of the Spurs that you saw in that run. I'm taking Greg Popovich to just win one game. That would be mine, whether it's college basketball or the NBA. Stu?
So again, it kind of like you're saying, it is hard, especially in the NBA, because I feel like all these coaches have had great players. Like, you need great players to win in the NBA. I think Phil Jackson winning 11 rings, even despite having 3 of the 10 greatest players of all time, is impressive, and I would still pick him.
Yeah.
Popovich, you make a very good argument for Popovich, but I just think
the only reason I'm laughing is that whenever there's one of these lists, and no one will argue Phil Jackson.
No,
right?
no, of course not.
No one will argue Phil Jackson, but it's always a Laker for Stu.
It's Shaq, it's Kobe, it's Phil.
Always a Laker. You give any question, like, who's going to be the greatest baseball player of all time? Stu would find a way to be like, oh, well, if Shaq played baseball, he would just find a way to be the biggest home run hitter of all time or something like that. So I always love the Laker respect level for one Stuart Kovacs. All righty, Samter, who's your coach? I think I know who you're going to go with. Is it someone you recently talked to?
And yes. Yes. You know me too well.
Yeah.
I have
Coach
a list
K,
about.
don't get me wrong. No one could debate the answer. Coach K is one of the greatest coaches, period, of all time. But then Samter got a chance to talk to Coach K a few weeks ago, and just how classy Coach K was when dealing with Samter, that even just, Coach K goes from an all-time great to an all-time great to Michael Samter.
Yeah, and after you have like a text with somebody, you always like delete the text. I still have the text, and I'm going to save that forever until my phone dies.
Put it up on the fridge.
That text is in my phone. It will never go away. But yeah, Coach K, 1,200 wins, 5 NCAA tournament championships between the years of 91 and 2015. So it wasn't like he just had this big, dominating era and then disappeared. He had 91, 92, 2001, 2010, 2015, over the course of 3 or 4 decades, 13 Final Fours, 15 ACC tournament championships, 13 ACC regular season championships, 3-time Coach of the Year, and, near to your heart, NABC Coach of the Year twice.
Yes, I did announce and present the NABC coaches that won regular season conference championships on Sunday, yesterday. And I was the master of ceremonies there. A really good time meeting a lot of good coaches, and appreciate the NABC for asking me to do that. And we also honored Phil Martelli as well for his long service to the college basketball game. So good little pop right there on the NABC. Sam, to bring that up on the show. Real quickly, spell Krzyzewski.
Coach Krzyzewski, K-R...
Wait, hold on, stop. Stu, spell Krzyzewski, because I know Samter has found a way to memorize this. I remember the last time we did this. Let's just see.
K-Z...
Nope.
Darn.
You want to take another stab at it?
K-R...
Yep.
Z...
Yep.
Y-Z-E-W-S-K-I.
Yep. Now, Samter,
wow.
Didn't you come up with a way for people to remember this?
It's not really a way. It's just there was that old Bud Light commercial where somebody's holding up a sign like a limo driver for Coach Krzyzewski, and this guy walks up, it's like, "Hi, I'm Mr. Krzyzewski."
Oh, okay.
And it's like, "You mean Coach Krzyzewski?" He's like, "Yes, I am." And so Krzyzewski, Krzyzewski, Krzyzewski.
It actually would have been funny after that entire soliloquy that Samter just gave if you hadn't spelled it wrong, and no one would hold that against you because spelling Krzyzewski is almost nearly impossible. We'll take a break. We'll come on back. We'll get to a news brief next. It is the Zach Gelb Show.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
Florida basketball is back. Walter Clayton Jr. will play for it all tonight, and this was him on bringing Florida back to the championship game.
I'm just thankful, man. You know, obviously Florida basketball has a great history. I grew up watching it. You know, obviously we got T. Green on the staff to tell us about the experiences. So just a great feeling, you know, to go out there and win games and have Gator Nation supporting us.
So it wasn't as if the coaches, you know, going into this weekend that people dislike Todd Golden or people dislike John Shire, but there was a feel in San Antonio that they were pulling for the older guard, right, in Bruce Pearl and also in Kelvin Sampson, and people wanted to see one of those guys win it all because, especially with how far along those guys are in your career, you never know if you're going to be back, and also you never know if you're going to have another opportunity like this to go win a championship again, and these have been the best chances for both those guys. Obviously, Bruce Pearl and company couldn't get the job done on Saturday, but Kelvin Sampson and Houston was able to. It didn't look like they were going to be for most of the game. And then Duke choked that game away, and Kelvin Sampson's team just never stopped playing. Kelvin Sampson made it know that the coaching legends are actually behind him, and they're hoping that he finds a way to get the job done tonight.
I saw Tubby and Rick Barnes and Tom Izzo and Pop and a bunch of the older coaches, and they all kind of had similar messages to me. You know, one for the old guys or something like that.
I kind of feel as if this championship game tonight, it's two people I think of. If Florida wins, I really feel like it's going to be Walter Clayton Jr., Walter Clayton Jr., Walter Clayton Jr., where that's the story. And him putting on one of the entertaining NCAA tournament runs, and he being the most entertaining player in the tournament. If Houston wins, it's an entire, and I mean this in a positive way, a slobber fest with Kelvin Sampson. And what he's been able to do at Houston and how long he's been around and restoring his career after all the controversy and all that stuff. That's how I think we're talking about this game tomorrow. And there's always something that could happen that's unforeseen, like Duke choking away a game up 6 with 34 seconds left. But if you just want to say, who's the person we're talking about tomorrow, give me one from Florida, give me one from Houston. If it's one from Florida, it's Walter Clayton Jr., and if it's one from Houston, it is Coach Kelvin Sampson. And if they do win it all, I'm waiting for a reporter to call him Kevin Sampson. Or Calvin Sampson, as people just continue to mess that up. And I forget what it was recently. Someone said the name of a school wrong, and he corrected them.
Gonzaga.
Yeah, that's what it was. You were right. And he ended up saying it's like when people call me Calvin or they call him Kevin Sampson when it's Kelvin Sampson. Here is John Shire on the blown game up against Houston in the semifinals as Duke was 34 seconds away, up by 6 from going to the championship game and playing for it all tonight. And now they are home.
I thought our guys followed the game plan, controlled the game. We had the lead for 35 minutes. We're winning by 6 with 1:15 to go. And they made plays, and you got to give them a ton of credit. We didn't make those plays, and you go from some of the most special moments in the tournament to the most heartbreaking loss.
How do we look back at the Duke season? Samter? How would you respond to that? You look back at the Duke season as what?
You have to say disappointing.
Stu?
Failure.
I would say a terrible ending. Like, they had such a special season, and if they would have just lost at the buzzer, right? If they just would have been back and forth to Houston all game, and Houston made a miraculous 3 or something like that, so be it. It almost would have even been better if they would have just got blown out. Quite frankly, I just didn't have it that night. But to be in control for most of the game, up 14 with over 8 to play, up 7 with like 1:15 to go, up 6 with 34, and not to be able to win that game, I don't want to hear anything positive about this dude. Oh, but they made a Final Four. You're at Duke. You're supposed to win a championship. You had victory in your hands, and you just threw it away. I still can't believe it. Here is Cooper Flagg on what they could have done differently down the stretch.
Communication. I mean, I think me and Sion messed up a switch. Got to get the ball in bounds. Find whatever we had to do. Just find a way to get the ball in bounds. But yeah, I think that was a big messed up communication play between me and Sion that led to a big 3.
And then let's go to Bruce Pearl on Auburn's second half collapse.
Played beautiful basketball in the first half. We were prepared. We had a great game plan. They executed really well. We only turned the ball over twice. Second half, Florida's effort and energy. The fact that we're not as deep as what we normally are was a factor. And I thought fatigue was a factor.
And I saw Rothstein said, Jedi Broom last made field goals with 15-12 remaining in the game. Just shows you. You got a big guy, how susceptible he is to injuries, right? Banged up. And you rely on a big guy to carry you the entire way. Game goes on, deeper on in the tournament, just don't got much left in the tank. And they needed Jedi Broom to step up at the end, had a tremendous career at Auburn, obviously coming over Morehead State, but they couldn't get the job done. And that offense, and give Florida credit for the adjustments, but from half 1 to half 2, it looked like a completely different team. Here's Geno Auriemma and what a 12th national championship means to the program.
Well, I think for the program, I think it means that
all those people that 5 years ago said it was somebody else's time, we're done, we were ancient history. I mean, things change, right? I mean, you can't say we want parity and then be pissed when we don't win it every year or every other year. So I get that, and I don't know that for me it means as much as it does to Paige or to KK, or to Sarah or AZ or any of the other kids on the team. This is life-changing for them.
I love when you have that many championships where he's like, yeah, it's nice that we won, but it doesn't really mean much to me. It means more so to the players, right? I would love to be, well, I was my football team, but I would love to be able to be in a spot like that. That's pretty damn cool. Here was Dan Hurley on Part of My Take via Barstool Sports, and the reporter who filmed his ref rant. Remember, that was like a whole big deal with him and the SID. The reporter was just standing there at the tunnel. Hurley comes off the court saying to Baylor, hopefully the refs don't bleep us like, bleep you like they bleeped us. And I didn't think even refereeing was a big issue in that game, but Dan Hurley finally commented on it.
That gentleman waited a long time for me to get back to that tunnel. I felt like he deserved for waiting so long. It was like waiting for Santa at the mall. Like he waited forever for me to get back there. I did TV. I felt like he deserved an interaction.
Yeah.
I understood karma at that point. That's why I didn't get pissed when when the kid on Creighton dunked the ball in the Big East tournament. If you notice, I really didn't flip out. I understood that karma. I had said something to the balding guy, and then I got my comeuppance at the Big East tournament, and that's why I didn't flip out and act like the victim.
I kind of like it. He's kind of poking fun at the whole situation. All right, this was from the Pirates home opener. Pirates fans saw Bob Nutting walking through the stadium and chanting to sell the team.
Sell the team! What's up, bro?
Can I get a word, Bob? Bob, can I get a word? How was opening day for you?
Very kind, too. There was no cursing. Just chanting, sell the team. And it gets this bad, right? Because it's one thing when you're not spending money, but then in right field at their ballpark, they have like a little plaque, right, and a little decal honoring Roberto Clemente. They replaced that, I think it was with the Surfside, which are pretty good, by the way. They put like a bunch of Surfside promotions over that and took the Roberto Clemente signage down. Now they have to restore it because people are like, what the heck are you doing? So if you're not going to spend money, that's one thing. It's stupid. But then you're going to disgrace your most famous player? It makes no sense to me. No sense to me whatsoever what that organization does. And then finally, here's Russell Westbrook short with the media after his fourth straight loss.
You guys need to clean up right now and get right before the end of the regular season.
I'm not sure, to be honest.
Do you feel like in this locker room there's a sense of urgency?
I don't know, man. Not sure.
What can you kind of try to draw from to help this team in a situation like this where you're going?
I don't have the answer for you, man. I wish I did, but unfortunately, I don't.
I kind of have no problem with that. I know people are freaking out. He's frustrated. He don't want to talk to the media. So you just kind of be short with the media. It is what it is, and you keep it moving. If a player doesn't want to do something, he's got to sit up there. He's got to do the allotted amount of time, and that's it. He bailed, though, right? Didn't he refuse to do it one night?
Yeah, no, he actually bailed on 3 consecutive games. Also kind of got into a verbal altercation with a home fan.
Aye.
And so people are kind of like up in arms, and then he finally speaks to the media, and he gives them that.
Yeah, it's just when a player doesn't want to speak to the media, do I think it's gutless at times? Absolutely. Because, you want all this credit, and then when things don't go your way, you got to kind of face the music. So I don't agree with him not speaking. But when you get up there, if that's how you want to conduct yourself and go, I wish I had the answers for that, that doesn't really, I don't get fired up about that stuff anymore. That's just me. All righty, we'll take a time out. When we come on back, we may have an answer on the number 1 pick. How about the number 2 overall pick as we look at the Tennessee Titans and the Cleveland Browns, and we'll give you our daily update on those 2 teams picking at the top of the draft. Update time first. Here's Zach.
Infinity Sports Network Sports Flash.
Well, the college basketball season comes down to tonight with 2 number 1 seeds facing off in the final between Houston and Florida. Saturday's games were thrillers, and tonight figures to be the same way, with Houston looking for its first title ever after going back-to-back years in 1983 and 84, coming up short on both occasions. LJ Cryer has some championship experience, winning with Baylor 4 years ago. The Cougars' run last year may have ended when he sprained his ankle against Duke, and is just grateful for another opportunity.
We just wanted to keep this thing going as long as possible. Everything comes to an end, but why not go out there and try to get to the last game? So it definitely means a lot to be able to continue putting this jersey on and playing with our brothers. So, I'm enjoying it and just living in the moment.
Houston has won 18 in a row, the last loss coming back on February 1st, a 1-point overtime defeat, while the Gators looking for their third title ever, winning in back-to-back seasons under now Hall of Famer Billy Donovan in 2006 and 2007. They've had just about everything today in Detroit. Wind, cold, cloudy, rain, snow, but they are playing, and right now it's the Tigers with a 5-1 lead over the Yankees, bottom of the sixth. I'm Rich.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network.
You guys serious? Yo! We're doing a show here. Hello! I got Stu on his phone. I got Samter on his phone. You're not paying attention? I come back from San Antonio. I'm on no sleep. I got up this morning at 4 a.m. and you two jackasses are texting us. We're trying to do a radio show? All right, before awful announcing and Barrett Sports Media says, Zach Gelb slams his staff behind the scenes, his producer and board op. Stu was just distracted there. Samter was just distracted there. Thankfully, neither of them were actually driving, and they just weren't paying attention to me. Using your phone while you were driving could kill someone. Put the phone away or paid for by NHTSA. You know someone's listening to this show right now, and they go, what a jerk. What a bully this guy Gelb is. And they tuned out before the advertisement even gets there. They were so disgusted by that. So make sure when you're driving that you do have the phone away. And once again, that announcement was paid for by NHTSA. All righty, 12 to the top of the hour. It is Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. So I think I'm obsessed is the way that I'm going to say it now with what's going to happen with the first and second pick of the NFL draft. For a while, we thought, okay, Cam Ward would be the number one overall pick, but to whom? I don't think Tennessee is trading the pick. I don't. I think Tennessee's keeping the pick, and I think they're taking Cam Ward. So Todd McShay had this tweet, and I don't think this tweet really has resonated yet nationally. Like sometimes we see things before anyone else sees them. I saw this on April 5th. Today is April 7th, and I don't see enough people referencing this Todd McShay tweet. So this was the tweet. So the Titans have respectively canceled private workouts to Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, making it all but official they will take Cam Ward at number one. Then he followed it up with saying, and now I'm starting to hear more and more about Hunter to Cleveland at number 2. That would mean Abdul Carter versus Shedeur for the Giants at number 3. And then Todd McShay says, not a difficult decision, in my opinion. So that's Todd McShay, formerly of ESPN. Now Todd McShay, he's a draft analyst for, he has his own thing, McShay Productions, and he also does a show for The Ringer. So Adam Schefter, who I love Adam Schefter, but when it comes to dissecting who that the Cleveland Browns are going to take with the number 2 overall pick, Shefty lost me. Because, Stu, you know this, we kind of shared this. We were all like looking at number 2 thinking that Shedeur wasn't going to go number 2, even though I think he should. And then Schefter gets on ESPN and he says, the thing I'm most confident about with this draft heading into the combine is the Browns, whenever they pick, if it's 2, they trade up or they fall back, they'll be taking a quarterback at some point with their first round selection. So I heard that and I'm like, that means Shedeur's going too. They're definitely taking, even if Tennessee passes on Cam Ward, they'll take Cam Ward at 2, or if Cam Ward goes Tennessee, then they'll take Shedeur Sanders. Then Shefty walked that back post-combine. Said it before the combine, then walked it back. Now, the other week, he said that it's starting to feel like they're going to go with Abdul Carter. Well, today, I'm just watching this. This was just posted moments ago. Schefter, 2+ weeks ahead of the NFL draft, there are signs that point to the Browns not using the number 2 overall pick on Colorado standout Travis Hunter. What the Shefty, you're supposed to have the info. You're supposed to be the guy. You're not supposed to be like talk show hosts like Zach Gelb or Stuart Kovacs or Michael Samter, right? You change your opinion and speculate on all this stuff, and one week it's a one flavor, next week it's the next flavor, and the next week it's a different flavor. Adam Schefter, what he's done in a month and a half, Stu, it is mind-boggling with the Browns at the number 2 overall pick, because I put a lot of stock in what Schefter says because of his clout in NFL circles and the information that he gets. But to go from the most confident thing you are is that the Browns are going to take a quarterback with their first-round pick, to then it's starting to feel like it's Abdul Carter, to now it's starting to feel like Travis Hunter. Is this just Adam Schefter finally getting got? And like all draft rumors, I'm just not supposed to believe whatever is out there with the NFL.
I mean, that's part of it, but also, I mean, the offseason pre-trade or pre-draft, season is a significant, grueling process of watching film, the combine, pro days, interviews.
And it's wild how close it goes down to the wire, where we've thought before when teams like, I don't know who I'm going to pick at the combine, when you have an early pick or you trade up to go get, you trade up to make a pick a few weeks before the draft. They're like, we still don't know who we're exactly going to take. This goes down a lot closer to the deadline of draft day on April 24th than most people realize. Because I always thought that was BS, Samter, from GMs who used to hear that through the years.
Yeah, and I mean, I think just at the end of the day, there's going to be so many different iterations of what could happen, trade proposals and all this. So I don't think Schefter's necessarily getting got. He's just using information that the teams are giving him at that moment. And it seemed like at that moment, the Browns most likely were going to go with the quarterback, but maybe after watching film and seeing different things, they're like, you know what? We can't take Shedeur too.
But it's the wording of it. When you say you are adamant and confident, the most confident thing in this draft that the Browns are taking a quarterback with their first round pick is a lot different than, I'm starting to feel like it's Shedeur Sanders. Like if it was just, I'm starting to feel like it's Abdul Carter, then 2 weeks later says, actually now I'm feeling like it's Travis Hunter, different story. 3 strikes, you're out. Adam Schefter, when it comes to the Cleveland Browns, the number 2 overall pick, and I'm sure he'll break that news before anyone else gets it. 3 strikes, you're out. I think Cam Ward's going 1, and right now you put a gun to my head. I think it should be Shedeur, but I think it's going to be Travis Hunter. Real quickly, this was Mary Kay Cabot on 92.3 The Fan saying the Browns are not settled on the number 2 pick yet.
Certainly, the Browns see in Travis Hunter what makes him one of the best players in this draft. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have locked in on him at number 2. Now, I do know that some of the Nationals are going that route right now. I'm not there yet. I am not there yet. I still think that there is a chance that they will take Shedeur over Travis Hunter at number 2.
Who knows? But that's when the draft really starts. I think this has the potential, if the news doesn't leak, and a lot of times the news does leak, I think this has potential to be one of the more exciting drafts ever. Because, especially early with the names that you have, like Abdul Carter and Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, I think Cam Ward's going 1. That's the only thing I could confidently say or confidently think right now. After that, and if the Browns pass on Shedeur at 2, and let's say they take Travis Hunter, and the conversation is Abdul Carter or Shedeur Sanders, and I think Abdul Carter is the best player in the draft, the Giants need a quarterback. So just like I think how the Browns should take Shedeur, I would then say the Giants should take Shedeur as well. But I can't wait for a little over 2 weeks from now. We get to April 24th, because that's going to be sensational. It's going to be must-watch television. All righty, we'll take a break. Like my Hampton says, I'm surprised Hampton knows how the draft works, since his team, the Jets, doesn't know how the draft ever works, judging by their picks.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
To infinity and beyond. He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show. here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, welcome back in. It is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. Ravis Vasquez is going to join us coming up in 20 minutes from now. He'll be live at the National Championship game. He's doing the Spanish call for Westwood One coming up later this evening. That game starts at 8:50 p.m. Eastern time. So I had to get up this morning like 4:30 or 5, something like that, to get back on the plane to fly back to our New York City studios from San Antonio, where I was there since Wednesday. Went to the Final Four games on Saturday. Did MC the NABC conference champion, or the coaches championship breakfast yesterday. So appreciate them for having me on out there. It was wonderful getting to meet so many of the great coaches amongst college basketball. But I thought to myself on the plane, right, in sports, duh, do a talk show host, duh, know that we're talking about the national championship game. But sometimes when you're so tired, you just don't think correctly. And I'm on the plane and I go, oh, it's great. I'll be able to get to the studio, do the show, and then go to sleep. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, Zach, you're an idiot. You're not going to sleep for 2 hours, and then there's a national championship game tonight. So I'll go to sleep late tonight, I guess, at some point. How did you, because Stu, you had to fly home early Saturday.
Yes.
I was at the game. Even I'll admit, I was a little bit tired, especially with how that game was looking for most of the way with Houston and Duke. And then Duke just gagged the game away, and it got really entertaining in the last 90 seconds to 2 minutes. But how are you feeling Saturday night when those games were going on late?
Saturday night was tough because, again, I had the similar flight where I had a 7 a.m. flight, so I got up at like 4:30, probably earlier than I needed to, but...
Stu arrives at the airport early, by the way.
I like getting there 2 hours early. No matter, even though I have TSA pre, I still like getting there early. So I had maybe 5 hours of sleep. And I got home, I had to watch the Devils, and then I had to watch the Yankees, and then it's like, oh, I had to watch the Final Four. So I was dozing off a little at some points during the Duke, very little. I had to keep myself up, but then I'm glad I did because that was a kind of a crazy ending there.
By the way, Samter, you know this. Whenever you travel with someone, and we travel quite a bit, you always learn something about someone when you travel with them. Stu has one of the most impressive stomachs that I've ever seen. Now, I'm not actually talking about the look of his stomach.
Definitely not the look.
So I went, what was the name of the barbecue place again?
Pinkertons.
So Stu went to Pinkertons on Friday, right?
Yes, after the show.
Because
so 5:30, close to 6.
Okay, and that's Central Time. Because I went to the Spurs game, and Stu went to Pinkertons, which we were told is just crazy good barbecue. So Stu goes there. Now, it's kind of a lot of just pick and go kind of stuff. So I had a half pound of brisket when I ended up going there, a jalapeno cheese sausage, which was to die for. I had duck and sausage jambalaya, a side of the mac and cheese, and then what was that? Jalapeno cheese rice?
Jalapeno cheese rice, yes.
Yeah, which was just delicious.
Excellent.
And then 2 big pieces of Texas toast, right? So that's what I had. And I also had a little of whatever their blueberry buckle is, or blueberry cake, which is really good. I walked out of there and I took a 2.5 mile walk because I felt just disgusting and fat, even though it was some of the best barbecue that I've had. Not as good as Jack Stack's, because those fire kiss wings from Jack Stack's, Chef's Kiss. But that barbecue, especially the brisket, may I say, it was very moist, as the kids would say. It was really, really good brisket. So, Stu, what did you have when you went to Pinkertons?
It was similar to you. I had the half pound of the brisket.
Okay.
I had a half pound of the pork ribs.
Ooh, they were out of the ribs.
They were out of the ribs, you told me, yeah. But those are very good. And
hour wait, by the way, for me.
So mine was 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I guess I got lucky with the timing. And then I had the mac and cheese side, the jalapeno cheese rice, and then this is a bottle of soda. I didn't have any of the dessert.
You didn't
or
do
anything.
the dessert?
I did not.
Okay. Now, if that was it, you would just be okay, they're enjoying themselves having some barbecue. Stu went to Whataburger afterwards.
Yes, but however, it was after a 2 mile walk, kind of like you did. I did the river walk one more time.
Yeah, but you ate dinner.
I know, and I also didn't finish the Whataburger. I had some of it. I needed to try it because I had never had it before, and I don't know when I'm going to be back in Texas.
When in Texas. I'll tell you.
Well, hold on. When in Texas, you go to Whataburger?
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to talk about Texas, go to Go to like a local San Antonio burger joint.
No. That chain.
It's big down there.
Very big.
Yeah, but
down
it's a chain. You can get it anywhere. So like when in Texas.
Can't get it here.
Yeah, I can't get it here. Stu's right on that. And also,
I don't know when I'm going to Texas again.
Like, tell that to Chris Beard. He won't be very happy with you, if we're just being honest. That's like his favorite place ever. Guy went to a Final Four, and he's celebrating the bus saying, hey, give me a Whataburger and stuff like that. The line for Whataburger, when I got out of the semifinal and then walked back from the Alamo Dome to our hotel, which is about like a 25-minute walk, I was going to go because I was like, Stu, I'm there, I got to eat it, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The line. I thought the line at Pinkerton's was long. The line at Whataburger was so much longer.
See, when I got there,
I didn't wait.
It was probably like 8 o'clock Friday night.
Yeah.
And there was one person in front of me.
Yeah, that was the traffic, everyone coming out of the game. And then Sunday, everyone was basically either hungover from the night before for the game on Saturday, or they were waiting around for the game on Monday. So that Sunday was my big day of eating, and I don't think it was a great day to do the big day of eating. By the way, how'd your fantasy baseball team do first week? You want to know?
I'm not want to know. I had a rough week.
Stinks.
My team had a very bad week.
So my starting pitching is very good because that's where all my keepers are. I have elite starting pitching, but since I traded all my draft picks last year, my bats are just horrendous. But I was able to get a week 1 victory. I was able to grind out a victory using the waiver wire. Was able to get the job done, so want to know. But I think that could be the highlight for Team Scooby-Dooby-Doo this year. But I got to be patient because last year I was in it, and I was really good, and I was just playing at a sensational level when I shouldn't have been, and I went for it, and I didn't get anything in return. So this year I think I just got to have a kind of a punt year, have a good foundation, and then have all my picks for next year. All righty. I know we got to get to Gravis Vasquez coming up in about 15 minutes from now, so let's get to a little onside-offside.
Zach's taking on the most polarizing issues in sports. Which side of the line of scrimmage will he end up on?
Offside. Defense number 69.
It's Onsides, Offsides with Zach Gelb.
Alrighty, Sweet Tooth Stew, what do you got cooking today?
All right, so we expect to see at least 2 quarterbacks go in the top 10 in Cam and Shedeur, while Jackson Dart may have snuck his way into the first round. But now a 4th quarterback is banking that he goes day 1 as Alabama star Jalen Milroe committed to spending the first round in the green room. Onsides, offsides, Jalen Milroe will be a late first-round pick.
Even if I wasn't going to be a first-round pick, but I knew I was going to go in the 2nd or 3rd, I would even still consider going to the NFL draft just so when you hear your name called, you could walk across the stage. So that's what I was kind of thinking. Like, does Jalen Milroe just not expect to go in the first round? I think it's a ballsy move. I do. Now, I still don't think he's going to be a first-round pick. It's either a tremendous amount of confidence or there's a lot of stuff being said behind the scenes where he has an assurance that he's going to be a first-round pick. But I'm still going to say that he goes in the 2nd round. So Jalen Milroe will be a late first-round pick. I'm going to go offside there.
Offside.
Or maybe he's not thinking his stock is as good as it is, so you get a little sympathy points there. You're sitting there in the green room, and everyone's like, I feel bad for him. We'll just eventually take him, and then maybe have him go going early in the 2nd round. That could be it, too. I haven't thought about that yet until right now. All right, next question.
Speaking of Shedeur, the former Colorado star may be slipping out of the top 5. Vegas now has the Saints, who have the 9th pick, as the betting favorites to land Shedeur at plus 300. The Giants are next at plus 350, then the Browns at plus 425. And then the Steelers at plus 700.
No Raiders?
No Raiders. Onsides, offsides, Shedeur will be drafted by the Saints.
I'm going offside. I still think the Giants right now would be my pick to take him at 3. I wouldn't rule out the Browns, but I do think the Browns right now are going Travis Hunter. So I would say Cam Ward 1, Travis Hunter 2, and then I do believe Shedeur Sanders is going to go number 3. So offside.
Offside. Julio Jones did not play in 2024 after pulling in fewer than 1,000 yards over 3 seasons between the Eagles, Bucks, and Titans. Now the 5-time All-Pro has officially announced his retirement after amassing nearly 14,000 yards and leading the league in yards twice and receptions once. He finishes his career with 16th all-time in yards, 27th in receptions, and 61st in touchdowns. Onsides, offsides, Julio Jones is a no-doubt Hall of Famer.
I think he will be a Hall of Famer, a no doubt about it Hall of Famer. At that position, no siree. Like, they made T.O. wait. Reggie Wayne right now isn't even in the Hall of Fame. Torrey Holt isn't even in the Hall of Fame right now. Hines Ward. And Julio Jones has great numbers and was an athletic freak. But no doubt about it, at the wide receiver position, that's where I'm going to disagree on the wording and go offside.
Offside.
Torpedo bats are a hot button topic, and now your favorite commissioner, Rob Manfred, has come out in favor of the bats, telling the New York Times, quote, "They're absolutely good for baseball. The bats comply with the rules. The players have actually been moving the sweet spot around in the bats for years," end of quote. Onsides, offsides, you actually agree with Manfred?
Yeah, I agree with Rob Manfred. Onsides. Next question.
I'm going to pull that.
Yeah, I agree with him.
Vlad,
I'll give him credit where it's due. The torpedo bats I have no problem with. And the pitch clock, I'm a big fan of. So, all right, those are my two nice things I'll say about Rob Manfred. I've reached my quota for the year. Talk to you in 2026.
All right, sticking with baseball, Vlad Guerrero Jr. was considered one of the hot names potentially available via trade this season and free agency this offseason. Well, that was put to bed as today the Jays and Vlad agreed to a massive 14-year, $500 million deal.
Broken by Ken Rosenthal, by the way,
Yes.
5 minutes before Jeff Passan. And then Jeff Passan, who's blocked me on Twitter, is like, sources say that, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has a 14-year, $500 million contract. Yeah, Jeff, I know you have a lot of sources. Your source on this one was Ken Rosenthal. Or someone was just late telling you. So how about we give a little credit to Ken Rosenthal, all right? If you didn't block me on Twitter, I wouldn't be saying that probably. I wouldn't give a rat's ass. But geez Louise, Jeff. Come on, what are we doing?
So Vlad Guerrero Jr. will be north of the border until
5 minutes late, Passan. 5 minutes late. Speed it up. Let's go. Rapido.
Until 2039. The average salary is $35.7 million a year. Makes Vlad the 5th highest paid position player and the 9th highest paid player overall. Onsides, offsides, the Blue Jays overpaid for Vlad.
Absolutely not. Offside. I have no problem with this. I know it's a lot of money. I know it's a lot of years. The goal was to keep him. You ended up keeping him. These are baseball contracts. I like what the Blue Jays did. So I'm not going to say that they overpaid for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I'm going offside.
Offside.
Duke suffered an epic collapse on Saturday night, blowing a 6-point lead with 35 seconds left. Player of the year and likely number one pick Cooper Flagg had a forgettable end of the game. He watched Houston steal an inbounds pass from him that cut the lead to 1. He also got called for a controversial foul that gave Houston the lead and then missed, of course, the potential game winner. Onsides, offsides, your opinion of Flagg has changed after the game.
I'm going offside. It was a terrible choke job by him and Duke. But I still think he's a very special player, and I'm not going to let one game define someone, so I'm going offside on that one.
Offside.
The reason I laughed is I thought we had a delayed April Fool's joke. Stephen A. Smith just tweeted out, "Time to stop messing around. Life is great, especially at ESPN/Disney. Hate the thought of being a politician, but sick of this mess, so I'm officially leaving all doors open." Stephen A. Smith, who has once denied saying he would run for president, is now taking the publicity and is saying he's throwing his name in the ring to run for president. So, how about that? You think he still do first take? If Trump could golf, why can't Stephen A. still do first take? Imagine Stephen A. and Vladimir Putin just going at it on the desk of first take with Christopher Mad Dog Russo in the background. Doggy would be moderating the debate. What do we think about the tariffs? All righty. Continue.
After making that epic comeback, Houston moved on to the championship game against Florida tonight. Now the SEC and Big 12 tournament champs face off for the national title, though none of the players on either team is expected to be a lottery pick, and we could just see one or two of these players in the first round. Onsides, offsides, Houston and Florida are the two best teams in college basketball this year.
Florida was playing the best going into this tournament. I'm not taking anything away from Houston. They kept on playing tough, but I look at that game more of, I hate when people do this, so I'm saying it, but it's answering the question. I look at that game more of a Duke loss than a Houston win, but if you're a Houston fan, you don't give a rat's ass how you look at it. I still think Duke is one of the best two teams in college basketball. They didn't get the job done. So Houston and Florida, the two best teams in college basketball this year. I'm going offside just because of the way that Duke lost that game.
Offside.
All right, last one here. The Nate Smith Basketball Hall of Fame welcomed some new members this weekend, including Carmelo Anthony and Dwight Howard. So Melo was a 10-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA, winning one scoring title and finishing top 5 in the MVP 3 times. while Dwight Howard made 8 All-Star games, 8 All-NBAs, 5 rebound titles, 2 block titles, and 4 top 5 MVP finishes, and 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Onstage Offsides, Dwight Howard was better than Carmelo Anthony.
I'd rather have the career of Carmelo Anthony than Dwight Howard. Carmelo's a prolific scorer. We remember prolific scorers. I know Dwight Howard was sensational, right, with the slam dunks and the dunk contest and his defensive ability, but I would rather have the career of Carmelo Anthony than Dwight Howard. So Dwight Howard was better than Carmelo Anthony. I'm going offside.
Yeah, I agree with Rob Manfred. Onsides.
Was that Belichick? We got Belichick on the show. Hey, Bill, how you doing?
Yeah, I agree with Rob Manfred. Onsides.
Ugh, that's disgusting. That's gross. Like how you guys just did me dirty like that. Terrible.
Yeah, I agree with Rob Manfred. Onsides.
Go to a break. I don't even want to talk. I don't even want to look or talk at you guys.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You're listening to the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it is the Zach Gelb Show on the Infinity Sports Network. I should be joined by Gravis Vasquez in just a bit. Former Maryland star, now does a great job calling a bunch of basketball games for Westwood One Sports. He did the Final Four this past weekend on Saturday. Have the national championship game today. I'll do the Spanish broadcast for Westwood One Sports, so we'll connect with them. Maybe also ask him a little bit about Maryland hoops, too, with how that all ended with Kevin Willard going to Villanova. And then Buzz Williams going to Maryland to replace Kevin Willard. But I still can't believe being in the building on Saturday and seeing how that game played out between Duke and Houston. I basically nailed Florida and Auburn. I said I thought that Florida was going to win by like 4 points or so, and it was going to be a close, grinded-out type of game, but eventually that Florida was going to make the plays to go win. And that's what they've been doing all tournament long, right? They didn't play their best up against UConn. They didn't play their best up against Texas Tech, and they found a way to get the job done. But that Duke-Houston game, I'm still buzzing because 14 points with 8 minutes to go, all right, you come on back from that, that's not unheard of. But with 1:15 to play to be up by 7, and then with 34 seconds left to be up by 6, and how Duke couldn't find the way to win that game, I'm still stunned. It almost doesn't even feel real. And a man that was on the call doing the Spanish broadcast for Westwood One Sports is the former Maryland star and Gravis Vasquez, who's kind enough to join us right now. Gravis, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this. How you been?
I've been great, man. Thank you for having me.
So let me start you off with Duke and Houston and what we saw on Saturday. You've seen games end, and you know at this time of the year in crazy ways. I still don't even feel that that's real. I don't even know how to process it still. I'm still speechless about it.
I'm with you. I was there calling the game in Spanish, and I'm like, I just couldn't believe it because I watched Duke's practices previous to the game, obviously throughout the week. And, one of my former rivals in college, John Shire, really well prepared, really good coach. So at the game, I was like, they can't get the ball inbound. Like, they just have trouble with the physicality at the end. And they were practicing like M plays game, like plays that you can run at the end of games, and if they pressure them and all that, and all of a sudden like they just couldn't find a bucket. It was just so difficult for them, and they dominated the game. At some point, I was saying like, oh, Duke is gonna be tough to beat. And Houston just kept fighting, kept working. You got to give them a lot of credit. They played really physical defense. They hard workers. They willing to do whatever it takes, and you got to give them credit. But unfortunately, at the end, it was like 3 minutes without a field goal, without a made field goal. You're not gonna be able to win if you're not able to score, and especially if you have the best player on the floor, Cooper Flag. But also, I don't know if it was like Cooper Flag got called a foul like over the back. That foul, it was like at that point it was like I don't know whether that. I'm as physical as Houston is, and the game was officiated the right way. I didn't think that was the right call.
So I didn't like the call, to be abundantly clear, and I guess two things could be true, right? We could admit the officiating was bad there in that spot, but I don't think that's why Duke ended up losing the game. You're up 6 with 34 seconds left. You got to close that sucker out.
Well, also the technical foul for Gillis, a guy that with experience, and especially I was really surprised. Like people will believe that I hate Duke because I played against Duke my whole college career. I really love Duke. I love what they do. I love Coach K. I respect Coach K. And obviously my relationship with Jumpshire is unbelievable. And I feel bad because he did everything he could possibly do to win the game. But at the end of the day, he's not a player. Like the players couldn't get it done. Like Gillis, being a senior, having experience, and then you're gonna get yourself in trouble and get a technical foul. Then you stop the clock. Then they shoot a free throw and they get the ball back. So right there, that was a momentum of the game that was really against Duke. And after that, it was history. I mean, it kind of reminds me of when Duke made that huge historical comeback against Maryland at the Caulfield House. You remember that? I'm like, no way, no way. This is happening now to them. So, that's unfortunate because you only got 40 minutes to trying to get to the finals to the final game, and you played really great throughout the whole game. Cooper Flag, obviously, best player right now in college basketball. Unfortunately, that's just March Madness, man. That's how it works.
So now moving forward, right? This is Duke, right? The goal is to win a championship. You had arguably the most talented team in the country. Players come and go. This is now Jon Scheyer's program. Are you confident that John won't let this game define him and he'll be able to eventually break through and punch through one day and go get a national championship at Duke?
Well, I don't think he's gonna be way too far from winning a national championship. I mean, I think this guy, he's a professional. He knows what it takes. His mentor is probably the best college coach in the history of the game. So he got a great support system. I mean, it gotta hurt. I know it hurts so much because I know him that he's gonna get better. I mean, there were some decisions I thought he called a timeout, like his last timeout. I thought he shouldn't trusted the team a little more because they crossed half court and they were on the other side. I mean, meaning like in their offensive end. So he should have let them run the play instead of calling a timeout because they were having trouble getting the ball inbound. But I think Jon Scheyer is becoming one of the best coaches of the college game. So I truly feel like he's going to learn. His character is going to continue to build throughout his career. I think he's going to be fine, but I'm sure he's hurt right now. He got to be as much as I know how much he loved the game. I think his future is bright, but he just gotta, you gotta pass the page, move on, and next year you gotta try to do it again.
Gravis Vasquez here with us. Yeah, on behalf of Westwood One Sports, good to be on the call, the Spanish broadcast for the national championship tonight. You can tune in on Westwood One Sports app and also on westwoodonesports.com. Get into Florida. That was the tale of two halves. Auburn was sensational in the first half offensively, and they couldn't hit a shot in the second half. But, man, Walter Clayton Jr., that's when it starts and ends for Florida. And he's on one of those entertaining runs right now, and it's a joy to watch.
Well, Clayton Jr. is a shot maker. He can make shots. He can create his own shot. He can finish around the rim. And he also can do all this without turning the ball over. That's huge. And when you talk about the Florida Gators, you're talking about a complete team. I mean, what they do best is bench production. The guys coming off the bench, they just sustain the lead or expand the lead. So they got way too many tools offensively. They defend the ball, the basketball really well. They like half-court defense is good. Transition defense is good. I thought Alex Condon have to do a little bit better. Have to do a little bit better offensively. They're gonna need him tonight to score a little more. But he also he had a tremendous I will say challenge playing against Johnny Broom, a big center that can score against Auburn. Now you got to play Roberts in the post. Like this guy from Houston, he's really physical in the post. He can score with his back to the basket. So I really like the Gators. I think to me, it's the most talented team. I don't think they play. I mean, they are a team in the first half. Second half, they just turned that switch on. I mean, they really hard to guard. A lot of DHOs, misdirection plays, but one of the best defense, or probably the best defensive team throughout the tournament, and then with the most physicality is the Houston Cougars. So it's going to be a big time Final Four. I mean, a big time final.
Yeah, and also Gravis Vasquez, the game is between these two teams. I don't care what the score is tonight. It's never over until it's over. Like, we're talking about what Duke just did with Houston, but even Florida in this tournament, they should have lost to UConn. They should have lost to Texas Tech. That's why I think this ends up being a slugfest that comes right down to the wire. You get a good game to call tonight.
And what about Maryland? They're gonna leave my Terrapins. I mean, against Maryland, I remember watching that game. I mean, they scored 29 points off the bench. Bench production was 29. Our reserve got only 9 points. I mean, 3 points. I'm sorry. So I think you said it right. To me, the Gators haven't played a great game together. Like the first 20 minutes and the second half, they haven't put a game where they wow from the beginning. And tonight, the first 5 minutes, is going to be very important for the Gators, because one thing we learned about Houston, you can never question the heart of a champion. They want to win a championship. They're going to fight until the end. That's why I'm still shocked that Duke lost with 6 points. Like they had a lead for 6 points in 1 minute or
34 seconds.
34 seconds. That says a lot about the character of Houston. Like they're not done until they're done. So it's gonna be a fight. It's gonna be a fight tonight, and I'm looking forward to be right there calling the game in Spanish on Westwood One.
Yeah, and Gravis Vasquez here with us does a great job calling the games on Westwood One in Spanish. So we talked about Walter Clayton Jr. To me, if Florida wins, he's the story tomorrow. If Houston wins, I start with the coach in Kelvin Sampson. We know what he's done for a long time, was away from the sport with controversy for a few years, but took the right job in Houston, kind of built them back up. And we've seen him now dominate 2 conferences in the American Athletic Conference and now the Big 12. And he's dominating college basketball right now. So give me a few thoughts on Coach Sampson.
I absolutely agree with you. And I'm sorry not to mention him. You talk about Coach Sampson against Shire. I thought the experience of Coach Sampson was, determined, and you gotta give him a lot of credit. He kept fighting for his team, and I mean, everyone knows about him. Everything that happened with him, and what he's doing right now. I mean, I just feel like sometimes he don't get enough credit after everything he's done until he's up to the stage. He is 40 minutes away to be a champion, and after when that happened, when everything with college basketball happened, and he went to the NBA, the comeback. When he came back, Houston gave him the chance. I watched videos of him going through campus, just offering tickets and
begging the fans and the students to come. Yeah,
that's huge. That's character. I'm huge with people with character. That's character. He believed he can transform the program, and he's doing it. And I'm sure he is not fully satisfied. He wants to win tonight. A lot of credit. If I'm a young player, I would love to play for him. This guy is a player's coach, knows the game, really great experience. Everyone loved him. Walk around throughout the whole. I mean, he was walking around through practices and media, and I'm really huge with body language, and I always as a former player, I always look up to my coach. If my coach send me or when I see my coach with confidence, I'm like, yes, and I gotta go with confidence too. So he just shows so much confidence, so much I would say fire and passion that his players feed off of that. And that's why they play so hard for him, because you always play for your coach. I mean, you love the name of the jersey in front of the jersey, but you're playing for your coach. And Coach Sampson is to me doing what a lot of coaches cannot do it nowadays. And he's doing it. I mean, he transformed the whole basketball program for the Houston Cougars, and rightfully so. He's 40 minutes away from winning a national championship.
Well, I have a Maryland legend here. I got to ask you how things did go down with Kevin Willard, as now he's the head coach at Villanova. What did you make of all that the last week or two?
Well, that's a good question, man. As much as I respect Coach Willard, I thought he didn't address the questions about Villanova throughout the tournament properly. I wanted to hear him saying, hey, it's about Maryland basketball right now. I'm trying to win a national championship. So after I'm done with the tournament, focusing on Maryland basketball, then I'll address, whatever you guys want me to address. Right now, it's about Maryland. and I felt like betrayed because that he betrayed us because we have a lot of respect. We love what he did. He did a great job. We just wanted him to be professional. And you know what? It happens. I don't have any knock on him going somewhere else. He felt like going there, it was going to be better for him. That's cool. I got no problem. But at least address he shouldn't address properly in terms of like respecting our program and what's ahead. But right now, we are excited about Buzz Williams, what he's bringing to the table, his leadership, what he has done in the past. This guy is a winner, a great leader. He's going to bring a great staff. We're excited about what the future holds for us as a Terrapins. So we'll see. I'm going to be looking forward to, obviously support our basketball program, the Maryland basketball program, and being around the program because I really love college basketball, man. I love doing this.
Well, hey, it was a great answer and appreciate the honesty there. Last thing I'll ask you, just because when I think of you and I hear your name and I remember your college career, the first word that comes to mind is electrifying. So how do you look back at your legendary run with Maryland?
Well, it was the best 4 years of my life. I can never forget that. Every time I'm calling Final Fours and watching college players, don't waste any time. I know a lot of young players are listening to us, watching us right now. It goes by so fast, man. I'm 38, and I was able to be my last college game was against Michigan State to go to Elite Eight. And Corey Lucius just hit an unbelievable three-point shot that I still remember like it was yesterday. And it went by so fast, and it passed fast. So being ACC Player of the Year, Bob Cousy Award, and as much as I love the game, I just miss being on the floor and helping. So now I'm thinking since I'm more involved on the broadcasting side, like maybe eventually coaching and develop players because I really like to mentor players, especially young players. Because a lot of, looking back to my career, I was always doubted. Like, oh, he's not really athletic. Is he gonna play in the ACC? Is he gonna make it to the NBA? Well, my third year in the league, basically my junior year in the NBA, I led the whole league in assists. So I just, preparation, work ethic, professionalism, and the love for the game. You would really have to work hard. And then nowadays, imagine how much money I would have made. With NIL,
you would have made a lot of money.
So,
hot take, you would have made a lot of money, my friend.
I'm happy, I'm thankful, and I'm here, man. I'm still loving the game. I love the game so much. I'm always trying to get better, and calling the games in Spanish is just connecting with my community, with my Latin community as well, not only in Maryland, but all around the country, and obviously from my home country, Venezuela, and whole Latin America, which, it's a lot of basketball there, a lot of young players that are coming here to the United States, going to high school, junior college, and D1 school. So I'm just glad that I went to Maryland, man, and ACC Player of the Year. That no one is going to take that away from me.
I love the enthusiasm. If you want to listen to Gravis Vasquez on the call tonight on the Spanish call for the national championship game, Westwood One Sports app and WestwoodOneSports.com. Gravis Vasquez, appreciate the time. Enjoy the game tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
You got it. There he is. Gravis Vasquez joining us. We'll come on back. We'll give you a prediction on the Natty tonight. Update time first. Here's the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
Infinity Sports Network. Sports Flash.
Oh, UConn rolled through the field to take the women's title last night. Tonight, it's Florida and Houston battling for the men's championship. The Gators won 35 games this year, 14-4 in the SEC, the toughest conference in college basketball. They did it with a combination of great defense and offense, and both were on display Saturday when they rallied to beat Auburn. Walter Clayton Jr. has been the tournament's best player and is intent on bringing another title back to Gainesville.
I'm just thankful, man. Obviously Florida basketball has a great history. I grew up watching it. Obviously we got T. Green on the staff to tell us about the experiences. So just a great feeling, to go out there and win games and have Gator Nation supporting us.
Torian Green is that reference, and he was part of the national championship teams in 2006 and 2007. Clayton has been averaging nearly 25 points a game, while the Cougars' L.J. Cryer won a championship with Baylor and led the comeback against Duke Saturday with 26 points, and is looking to lead the Cougars tonight to its first championship ever. One game today in baseball, and it was the Tigers winning their fourth straight, beating the Yankees by a score of 6-2. New York has lost back-to-back games. Andy Ibanez with a home run in this one for Detroit. I'm Rich Ackerman.
The Infinity Sports Network is on your smart speaker. All you have to say is, play Infinity Sports Network.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick. We're the Backstreet Boys, and you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
All right, it's time to answer or Ask the Pros question of the day, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Christopher from Little Rock says, Zach, who do you guys have tonight in the national championship game? You could submit a question by tweeting at INF Sportsnet or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag #AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts. All right, let's go around the room here to wrap up the show. We'll start off with Stu, who is wearing a Final Four quarter zip right now that you got in San Antonio.
I did. I saw it and I had to get it.
I'll tell you, I had to prevent myself yesterday from just spending in just a stupid way. Because I got what I thought was a very nice shirt that I wore on the show Friday. Final Four March Madness kind of shirt. And I kept on, because yesterday, after the breakfast ended that I was emceeing for the NABC, I had nothing to do. And a lot of the people that I knew were already gone or they were working on the production for the broadcast tonight. So I just walked around San Antonio yesterday. Went to the Alamo, did the whole tour there. Remember the Alamo, obviously. And then I went through store after store after store after store and was just looking and looking. And the teams that lost, and I like Auburn because of Bruce Pearl, all the gear was 50% off. And there were other cool Final Four shirts, but I was a good boy. I got one shirt. They're like crazily priced. Tomorrow you go there, they'll be all half off. And that's what happens at the Super Bowl too. So I did a good job preventing those temptations yesterday of just spending like a drunken sailor yesterday. But that's a nice little quarter zip that you got going on there. All right.
Thank you.
What's your prediction of the game? Stu's going Pinkerton's barbecue and then Whataburger. That's what he's going to end up doing.
That is my championship.
That should make one shining moment tonight. When the ball is tipped, just have Stu picking out at Pinkerton's and then 25 minutes later going to Whataburger and slamming a burger down his gullet. Oh, my God. How did you move that? How did you get up for the flight the next day?
It was interesting. I'll say that.
Little problem in the bathroom?
Yeah, it really wasn't that bad. I was fine.
Little issue in the bathroom, I heard. All righty. What's the pick here for the game tonight and why?
I like the Houston story, but I'm just so impressed by Florida. And I just think Walter Clayton Jr. is just such a difference maker, and I think he will continue to do that tonight, and I think Florida wins.
Samter?
I've been wrong about everything else. I had Duke and Auburn in the finals here, so
really?
I might as well go against the grain. I'm going to go Houston here. Florida's been playing great. They won the SEC tournament. They just beat Auburn, so it's hard to pick against them. But what Houston did against Duke, that kind of momentum can carry over. It's a talented team. It's a senior team.
Say what you want to say.
I think that they're just gritty.
No. There's a certain term that before it happens, people say it, and it's one of my biggest pet peeves. Team of destiny. That's what it sounds like you're saying.
No, I don't feel like they're a team of destiny. I feel like they're a team with heart and grit, and they're a team that will never give up. I feel like as long as they can contain some early blows from Clayton and Martin, that they'll be able to move on and kind of keep it close enough. And I think in a close, tight game, Houston has that kind of je ne sais quoi, that little extra. We don't know what it is, but that's still that little something extra that I think they'll be able to pull it off.
So I'm looking at Houston this year when they played SEC opponents. Auburn, they lost 74-69. That was back on November 9th. They lost to Alabama on November 26, 85-80 in overtime. So it's not like they can't hang with the SEC.
And they crushed Tennessee.
Yeah, well, I was just going through the schedule, and I was going to get to the Tennessee part, obviously.
I got there faster.
Well, it was remarkable. They ran them off the court. So I'm just looking, and those are the only three. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anyone. I believe those are the only three SEC teams that they played all year. And you're right, they destroyed Tennessee 69-50. Rick Barnes in the NCAA tournament. Nothing would shock me in this one. I really feel like this could go either way. I'm not betting against the most entertaining player in college basketball right now. I'm taking Walter Clayton Jr. I'm taking Florida. The way that I thought about this tournament going into it was Duke was the most talented team, but Florida was playing the best. So if Houston wins tonight, I know that Duke choked the game, but I don't want to hear about Duke choking the game or, us trying to take away from Houston. If Houston finds a way to prevail here at the Final Four, and they're the last team standing tonight in front of that home crowd, which, by the way, that's going to be a big Houston crowd tonight. There's a ton of Florida Gators fans that were there. That fan base, they're passionate, right? We know what they did in the early 2000s, earlier on with Billy Donovan. But there's going to be a lot of fans that'll be driving, especially with the Duke fans selling their tickets because they didn't get there and Duke choked. That those tickets are going to get sold and the Houston fans are going to be loud and they're going to be proud tonight. But if Houston can find the way, they already slayed Duke and they beat Florida, man, that's an that is just the icing on the cake for the tremendous Kelvin Sampson story. But I just think Walter Clayton Jr. will be too much. I think he's going to be on fire. You have Elijah Martin and then Haw too. Will do their part. I'm going Florida tonight. Score-wise. What do I want to go score-wise? I'm going to say 77-70. 77-70. I think Florida is going to beat Houston, be a close game, and then Florida pulls away late. They hit a three-pointer or two to ice it with Walter Clayton Jr. 77-70 Florida.
I mean, you're going against Jim Nance. Got the Jim Nance mojo there for Houston.
I actually was texting with Jim the other day. I said, I'm just going to say this, Jim. Houston looked like a different team once they put you on the scoreboard late.
I'm just saying.
Looked like a different team.
Maybe Team of Destiny is the right term.
And I said, I still can't believe what Houston did. He goes, same. He goes, it doesn't even feel real. Hello, friends. Jim Nance here. So Jim will be going from, where we heard this before, the national championship game to Augusta for a tradition unlike any other. The only difference is he's a fan tonight. And then, obviously, he'll be calling the Masters once again later on in the week. Oh, hello, friends. Jim Nance here. As we're getting ready for another phenomenal finish at Augusta. A tradition unlike any other. Ooh, hello, friends.
I just hope he doesn't scream his voice out for the Masters.
I think it'd be actually pretty cool. You just have to whisper then.
That's what he does for the Masters anyway.
Yeah, pretty much. Jim could enjoy himself. When is your team going to be back in the national championship game? Could be next year. Could be never. Big thanks to Dusty May for joining us. Big thanks to Gravis Vasquez. Big thanks to each and every one of you. Samter, Stu, Ack, everyone watching, listening, interacting with the show, tweeting, calling. We'll be back tomorrow. Patty Pimblett is going to join us before his big fight for the UFC this weekend in Miami. And also we'll recap a little game being played tonight in San Antonio. I think they call it the national championship game. Ooh, onions! Alrighty, we'll catch you tomorrow, everybody, at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific time. We out. Bye-bye. Give me a Bill Raftery onions tonight. Peace!